everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to another Chud Watch. It is costume month. And you guys picked the anglerfish costume, so I am indeed an anglerfish today. How's everyone doing? Hope you're having a good Friday. Hope your week went well. If you're off work, awesome. If you're almost off work, hope it finishes soon. So how's it going? Today we're looking at Trump. It's been a while. So I have some of his stuff pulled up, as well as some other stuff if we get tired of it. So, should be good. See if I missed anything in the chat. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor and like the stream. It would help a whole awful lot. Thank you very much. Let's see. Lady Ann, thanks for 44 months, says 44 months. Damn, that's not one of the funny numbers. Unfortunately, there's always next month. Halloween Town, thanks for a 10 stream streak. Where's the million channel points for DMAT? It's hidden. Don't worry about it. And that's it. We're caught up. So hi everyone. How you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good week. If you want to support the channel, you can always do bits, subscriptions, memberships on YouTube. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Trump is apparently upset because RFK Jr., whose brain has been eaten by a worm, not a joke, look it up, is a threat to his campaign. As RFK Jr. is a conspiracy theorist anti-vaxxer, he seems to be pulling some numbers away from Trump, and he's not thrilled about it. So let's take a look.
RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left.
Remember how, oh gosh, what's his name? Roger Stone, Trump ally, who Trump actually pardoned during his presidency, helped encourage RFK Jr. to start his presidential run. Was he just stupid enough to genuinely believe that the name, like, Kennedy would be enough for Democrats to vote for him? Kinda weird.
Left liberal who's been put in place in order to help crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, get
Wow. Donald, name 5 presidents other than you.
reelected.
Honestly, he's old enough that that's easy for him. Name 5 presidents that happened before you were alive.
A lot of people think that Jr. is a conservative. He's not. He's more liberal than anybody running on the Democrat side. A vote for Jr. would essentially be a wasted protest vote that could swing either way, but would only swing against the Democrats if Republicans knew the true story about him. Jr. is totally anti-gun, an extreme environmentalist who makes the Green
Not an environmentalist!
New scammers look very concerned.
Yeah, the brain worms are real. For those that didn't hear, RFK Jr., doctors found a worm in his brain that ate part of his brain. Which isn't a good thing to have, I would think. Puka, thanks for 500 bits. Appreciate it. Ashley One Up with 40 bits says when RFK was supposedly pulling votes from Biden, Donald was saying high praise. How strange. It's almost like he's a narcissist, and his opinions are entirely based on what he thinks benefits him the most in that exact moment. Imperfect Rebus, thanks for a 3-stream streak.
Conservative by comparison. A big-time taxer, he wants to tax you. An open border advocate. He wants those borders to be wide open for...
You already say they're wide open. This is Schrodinger's border. Is it already wide open and everyone's coming in, or they're gonna open the borders? Which is it? Because it can't be both. It can't be in a perpetual state of further opening forever. That's not how things work.
More people to come in from prisons and mental institutions, and he's anti-military and he's anti-vet. He's an extreme liberal. He's radical.
Remember that time that he was against Gold Star families and also said he likes soldiers that don't get captured and become POWs? Like, Republicans in general trying to act like they support veterans despite continually voting against benefits and help for veterans is funny enough. But when it's Trump, it's not even funny in a that's so, like, ironic way that they use this as a rhetoric when they don't actually back it up through action. They have no praxis in relation to their continual claims of caring about the armed forces. It's so stupid. But Trump in particular, it's just obnoxious and eye-rolling. Like, do you think we weren't listening the last however many years? Bittergrin says, dang, the more he talks, the better RFK sounds. You know, believe it or not, you should vote for Biden, considering he's the one that actually stands a chance. RFK is, well, a worm ate his brain. Don't vote for him, please.
Left and radicalized also are his family. They'll never allow him to be a Republican. They've said that we will not let him be a Republican. And his chief funder...
What does that even mean? The man's, like, worm brain or not, he's an adult. Like, you can't make him be a specific political party. They won't allow it. RFK Jr. will not be allowed to refill out his voter registration card. They will take it away from him. They will hide it from the worms. Profiley Face, thanks for 113 bits. Kicking off a hype train, 37% to level 1.
Is the VP candidate that nobody ever heard of, except her ex-husband, who's been stripped of a big chunk of his cash. And he knows exactly what she's all about. She's even more liberal than RFK Jr. She puts herself down as a businesswoman or maybe a doctor, and actually she probably is, because she did a hell of a big number on the husband. That's her business.
What?
I guess you could say that she's right, however, because what she's done is given a lot of money to the Democrat.
His tight 5 needs a lot of work. Amber Pretzel says, am I the only one who thinks Trump could stand to take a while to just rest? The man's up in his winter years. I don't know. Maybe I'm just tired of octogenarians and politics. Maybe I just want to hear less about this guy. Maybe I'm the tired one. All of those things can be true. That's fine. Fenekagami says, man keeps showing his weaknesses. He used to claim that his supporters would never leave him. I guess getting put in his place by the New York judge has really started to hammer home he's not invincible. And H. Baird says, I'm one of the rare trans people who has the connections to leave the country if I need to. I don't want to move. Please vote Biden as well as Blue Down Ticket. I'm one of the people who can't afford to move under virtually any circumstance. So please vote for Biden.
Causes and the ultra-liberal causes, she's going to be a big hindrance, because when people saw that she was selected, they realized that Junior was indeed a radical left. She's more liberal than Junior by far. Not a serious person, and only a pot of cash to help her get her no-chance candidate on the ballot is what got her there in the first place. I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were...
I know he means they just both lived in New York, but it makes it sound like they were in some sort of bosom buddies roommate situation. I'd watch that.
Outright nasty and really bad for the state. We have
the B plot could always be the worm. The B plot would always cut to inside RFK's head, and the worm would be up to some antics. The worm would get up to antics all the time. And then maybe the A plot and the B plot would like cross sometimes, like Perry the Platypus. I don't know. We're cooking here. We're cooking.
Energy costs anywhere in the country, and that's because of RFK Jr. He was a disaster. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack, as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country, and frankly, it's affected New England, it's affected everybody. But all of this was the policy
Add
of...
Alf to the mix and we've got a winner. Is the puppet okay? How's the Alf puppet doing? Is it in good shape?
RFK Jr. He doesn't want any drilling whatsoever. He doesn't want anything. He wants everything to come to a halt, and you'd find that out. But the fact is, he is a radical left person. So Republicans, get it out of you.
Does he know how to do anything other than repeat specific phrases in order to trigger boomer brains? Radical leftist! That's like in capital letters, and then they tune out the rest, and then they hear like communism, environmentalism, and those are the words that stick in their brains. Overthought says, I was led to believe worms made you smarter. Futurama lied to us. And Bumble Homestead with 50 bits says, of worms and tangerines. 54% to level 1 on the hype train. Minute left.
Your mind that you're going to vote for this guy because he's conservative. He's not. And by the way, he said the other night that vaccines are fine. He said it on a show, a television show.
Wait, is Trump trying to court the anti-vaxxers back despite Trump regularly bragging about him, like, okaying Operation Warp Speed, which helped fund, like, research into vaccines. He trying to backpedal on that because of all the weirdo anti-vaxxers. Kind of funny. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub. Lennon Cat says, worms in the gut make you smarter, worms in the brain make you dumber. Yeah, that's how that works. That's a good medical take.
That vaccines are fine. He's all
Vaccines are fine, believe it or not.
for them. And that's what he said. And for those
Damn, so close to a hype train. Not quite, though. Thanks, everyone.
of you that want to vote because you think he's an anti-vaxxer, he's not really an anti-vaxxer. That's
Ooh, Annie McKean with 5 tier 1 subs. That was so close. So close, but so far. Thank you.
only his political moment. He said it the other night. He's okay with the vaccine. Their energy costs are the highest in the United States, in New York State and New England, because of this guy, with the exception of California and Gavin.
I don't think the energy prices are caused by a single vector of a single person. And imagine energy needs in New York are pretty high. I don't know if you know this. There's a pretty big city there in New York State. It's called New York City. It's pretty big. Requires a lot of energy. Lennon Cat, thanks for gifting a sub.
Newscomb, who's the worst governor.
Oh, you helped Annie McKean. Thank you. Even if we didn't get the hype train, still, those people don't have to see ads, and it helps support the stream. So thank you.
In the state's history and one of the worst governors in the history of our country. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last about a year or two longer than it would with Jr. It would collapse
Okay, I'll vote for Biden then.
almost
Thanks for the tip.
immediately. And his family, a radical left, a crazy left, a bunch of lunatics, would take over.
And his father, let me tell you about his father. One day his head just exploded out of nowhere. Made no goddamn sense.
And our
Don't trust a Kennedy.
country will die very quickly. So RFK's views on vaccines are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy. He is not a Republican, so don't think you're going to vote for him and feel good. He's a radical left Democrat.
Believe it or not, I don't vote to feel good. It's telling. H-Bird says, you're wrong, Hannah. I work for the Department of Energy. In a closet in Germantown, there's a big dial that controls gas prices worldwide. I'm not sure why we don't turn it down more. I mean, it's just kind of hard to get down there. There's not lights, you know, there's boxes. No one wants to do it, you know?
Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him.
Whatever you say. All right, let's take a look at the next Trump thing. Where did I put that? There it is. Here he is outside of the courtroom, freaking out because of his legal issues. This is from Newsmax, so I'm not sure what interjections they're going to make, if any.
There is no gag order to Michael Cohen. What the judge did was amazing, actually. It was amazing. Everybody can say whatever they want. They can say whatever they want, but I'm not allowed to say anything about anybody.
I'm not allowed to say anything about anybody. Why won't people let me intimidate jurors on the internet? I was the president, don't you know?
It's a disgrace, and you see
You want to see something insane? Sure.
it. The media sees it. And,
His voice does sound really bad.
it's really very sad.
Did I see the super racist UK candidate who lost to a man called Count Binface? No, I didn't. Fenekagami says, speaking of environmentalism, Biden is going after the coal industry, telling them they have to meet certain carbon levels or he'll shut them down in 5 years. Most are sure they'll never make the goal because of how dirty coal is. As a result, 80% of our carbon emissions will be nixed, even though coal is only 20% of our energy production. See, that sounds good. Vote for Biden, please.
If you look at the legal experts and the legal scholars, every one of them say this trial is a scam.
Everyone is saying it's a scam, except for all the people who don't.
Something should have never happened. By the way, it could have happened 7 years ago. They bring it right during the election. Nobody sees it. Nobody talks about it. This should have been 7 years ago. It shouldn't have been brought. But if it was going to be brought, it should have been brought 7 years ago.
Not up to you? What? Sheba Hawk says, vote for Biden, that is all.
And, you know, we're talking about 2016. We're talking about something that goes back a charge of
2016 isn't even that long ago. What are you talking about? That's like 8 years ago. You're like a million. That's like a tenth of your life. What do you mean? That was 2016. My crimes shouldn't count if they happened in 2016. Peoplord says, energy costs went up in New York and New England because the woke politics summoned Captain Planet, and he fucked up all the fossil fuel energy stations because, well, his heart's in the right place. He is ultimately inadequate because he's the unknowing product of capitalism and doesn't understand the nuance of energy policy and class structures. Probably because he spends most of his time in rings on teenagers' hands. Oh god, teenagers' hands. Oh no! Oh, I don't want to read the rest of that.
06.
To be clear, he's not in the rings. The rings are used to summon him, but he's not in the rings. Captain Planet is part of the planet. They shoot the beams together and then he, like, forms out of the earth. Captain Planet doesn't live in the rings. He's not Barry Allen's suit, okay? I just want to point that out. Captain Planet, you've been defended. Your lore is safe.
Think of it. We're talking about 2016. We're talking about a charge that's 18 or 19 years old.
Okay, again, what's the statute of limitations on this crime? Has it passed? Probably not if you're being charged with it.
It's all fake. The whole case is fake. The judge is corrupt. And the only thing he gives us is to make him look a little bit good. He gives us nothing. And what he just did now is a joke. It's a disgrace.
Got him? He called the judge a joke. Fucking got him? Like sovereign citizen shit. Does he think insulting the judge? And I know what he's doing. He's playing a media game. He's trying to use this for his supporters and paint a picture that he's being persecuted in some way and that it's corrupt. I know he knows this isn't going to actually have any, like, bearing on the outcome of the case. He's trying to paint a specific narrative for his followers. But oh my god, it comes off as the most pathetic, desperate thing.
It's a disgrace. So I just want to mention right here, Biden made a claim that inflation under Trump was 9%. When it wasn't, it was a tiny fraction. It was 1.4% and actually going down. We had essentially almost no inflation, but we had 9% inflation, and that's a fake number because not everything was included with Biden. And if you add it all up, I think it's a 50% inflation tax. I call it the Biden inflation tax. So he lies, and he lies about it.
It's funny to me that he's always trying to workshop little phrases. The Biden inflation tax, fake news. You can tell he's always trying to, like, find little things. He's trying to find new keywords that will stick. So interesting.
Everything, including his golf game, because he can't hit a ball. He can't.
Does he think that insulting Biden's golf game is a successful vector of attack for a political campaign? Very down to earth. I'm very concerned about if my president can beat par. Oh.
Can't hit a ball 100 yards.
I'm a much better golfer. I'm a much better golfer than him, I'll have you know. I am the best. Everyone is saying I'm a better golfer than him.
Lies about everything, but he came out, and I saw that this last couple of days, he was talking about the Trump inflation was 9%. No, his inflation was 9%. That's a tax on the American people due to gross income.
That's not a tax, though. That's like companies raising their prices. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the minimum wage should be indexed to inflation. Have you considered that? Oh wait, that would be devastating to your cause because that's not a very right-leaning policy, is it? Guess I don't know what you're complaining about then.
Competence, and it was all started because of his energy policies, his stupid Green New Deal energy policies.
And his Green New Deal, have you heard about this Green... Why is he Jay Leno now? This Green New Deal, have you heard about this? Have you heard about... This Green New Deal, have you heard... I'm sorry, now I ruined it. Now I'm injecting Leno into the Trump, and that's a disaster. A disaster.
And you wait till you see. If we don't win this nation is finished. You wait till you see what would happen. Because all of that stuff will be closed up. He let a lot of my energy policies go through, because energy was starting under what they were doing, starting to go up so high. So he let a lot of them continue.
He had someone print these off for him so he could do a little presentation. That's, like, really embarrassing. Benekagami says the judge has literally admitted that the only reason Trump hasn't been thrown in jail, despite being found guilty of 11 counts of contempt of court, is because he's a former president and current candidate. Trump's just mad that the judge has told him he's run out of rope and is about to, well, you get the point. Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's a petulant child. It's frustrating watching someone who's, like, a virulent fucking narcissist, like, get the barest amount of consequences and just, like, blow up. It's so ridiculous to watch. It's embarrassing. It's uncomfortable.
Including the drilling, because the prices were going so high for gasoline and energy. And now he comes out and he actually says, I guess with a straight face, but I'm not sure he knows what he's saying anyway, that it was 9% under Trump. So at least the New York Post, and I hear the Wall Street Journal, and a couple of others did correct it. Now, it was 1.4. It was actually lower than that. We included everything. They didn't include everything. They took some of the worst categories and didn't include them in the 9%. So his 9% is actually much higher than that. But it's a tax over a 4-year period of more than 50%. And I call it the inflation tax, the Biden inflation tax.
Again, see, he's trying to repeat this. He's trying to meme it into existence as, like, a thing, as a talking point.
Here's another one.
He does it, like, and don't be wrong, this is a political thing in general, is trying to craft talking points and put them into little, like, blurbs that are easily repeatable and transmittable and understandable. But he's doing it in such a blunt and stupid way. Like, he's always been like this. It just feels like it's gotten stale, low energy to kind of steal the parlance of his own speech. I don't know. Just feels sadder than it used to. Like, I used to watch this kind of thing and be scared. And don't get me wrong, he's scary. The people who vote for him are scary. But there's also that layer of just, like, deep sadness of, like, the condition of this person. I don't know. It's fucked up.
Came out Axios, no friend of mine. They say that Biden's big donors fume over Israel criticism. Biden's donors are the ones that are against Israel. So somehow, maybe those people, Jewish people that vote for Democrats or vote for Biden, if they look at what they're doing, the donors to Biden are against Israel.
Again, the idea that if you're Jewish, you, like, have to be a Zionist or have to agree with the policy positions and actions of the state of Israel, or Netanyahu specifically, is absurd. And pretty fucking anti-Semitic, honestly, that you're like, if you don't believe the things I believe, then you're, like, bad at being Jewish. Like, that's just straight up anti-Semitic bullshit.
Very much and vehemently against Israel. They hate Israel. And that's why Biden hates Israel, because he goes with his donors. And he always has.
It's wild to me to hear him claim that Biden hates Israel.
So they ought to start thinking about that. And now you have the lawfare implosion. This is in the Wall Street Journal. Kim Strassel is a great reporter. They ought to read this story, because it talks about what's going on here. What's going on here is a disgrace. Jonathan Turley just came out. This case is becoming legally obscene. It's
You know what this feels like? It feels like he's writing a tweet in real time. It's the meandering nonsense of your, like, drunk uncle at Thanksgiving who doesn't know tact in regard to topics of conversation. It's that. He's just going, like, everyone's interested in hearing what he has to say.
I mean, the articles are unbelievable. And I'd hand you the articles, but the problem is I'm not allowed to. Because if anything's mentioned against certain people, and you know who they are, certain people, anything's even mentioned, he wants to put me in jail.
He wants to put me in jail. Yes, that's where people go when they violate gag orders. Much sooner than you have been given, usually. Kanekagami says, if Trump didn't have the media support he does, he would have fallen off. I keep an eye on Trump supporters. They rarely post about him directly. It's almost always something adjacent. He's already become a figurehead of his own movement. Yeah, he's a rhetorical tool, and I think this has always been the case. He's always been a rhetorical tool that a lot of, like, right-wing populist assholes used to point to as the central focal point of a lot of their ideas. He wasn't just a man, he is a symbol for their beliefs, for an open disdain for the world as it exists, for liberalism, for, I don't know, progressivism, for inclusivity, all the things that they really, really, really hate, right? So while I think he was newer and fresher, he was the focal point, especially because it pissed off people they didn't like, and that's something they like to do, is to own the libs or whatever. I don't know, but I think as time has gone on and he's become more and more embarrassing as a person, he is still that symbol, but that symbol has become less central to the narrative as a whole. It's a part of it, it's part of the plurality of the narrative, but it's not the only thing. So, good that you hear less of them, bad that the movement of far-right populist fashy grossness is continuing on despite less success from Trump. Yeah. Steve of the Q says, I'm not going to say vote for Biden because I believe we still need to pressure him to do more for Palestine, but for Pete's sake, don't vote for this guy. I'll say it, vote for Biden. Oh.
And that could happen one day, and I'd be very proud to go to jail for our Constitution, because what he's doing is so unconstitutional.
He's not doing this to you. This is a state crime. This isn't even a federal issue. What are you talking about?
There's never been anything like it. These are story after story right here. Look at this, one after another. And this is over the last 2 days. Story after story. Hannity, big story.
He's citing Hannity. Let's see, a very unbiased, neutral reporter here, Sean Hannity. Fuck off.
They're all big. Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley, Andrew
Dershowitz? You cited an article from Dershowitz?
McCarthy, Rick Jarrett. They've all been amazing. They're not friends. Nobody's friends. They're
You are friends with Hannity and Dershowitz. What are you talking about? What? These aren't my friends. They hang out at my club often, but we're casual acquaintances at best. Please, I have a stack of articles that's very real.
writing stories. They've never seen anything like that. They've never seen anything like what's going on today in this court. Is a very dark day for New York City, New York State.
I think most people in New York City are aware of what a scumbag you are, considering how many decades you've done business there, so I think they're probably pretty happy with what's happening to you.
It's a very dark day for our nation, and in the meantime, I can't be out campaigning. They could have brought it, I told you, 7 years ago. They could have brought it if they were going to bring it. Remember, everybody turned it down. Southern District turned it down. Washington turned it down. The Federal Election Commission turned it down. And you know who else turned it down? Cy Vance turned it down. Everybody turned it down. And then Bragg came in and he turned it down. And he got very angry, actually, because a man named Pomerantz came out. And what's happening with Pomerantz? Are the papers looking into that deal? But he got himself into a jam. And so what happened is Bragg turned it down. And then when the election comes along, he said, well, let's go. But it's not a case. It's been turned down. Remember this. It's a federal case. They all turned it down. And he's bringing it into the state or the city, I guess. Look, he's a district attorney.
I guess.
Where crime is rampant, violent crime is all over the place, and the city's going to hell. And they have many prosecutors in there.
Trump, have you seen Basket Case? That's what New York looked like when it was, like, really fucked up. It's fine. Peoplord says, as a sufferer of Crohn's disease, I categorize saying vote for Biden the same way I talk about having horrible diarrhea with my doctor. It's gross and embarrassing, but the alternative is terrible consequences. That's a good way to put it.
I couldn't even count them. It looked to me like they had, certainly they have had more than 20 prosecutors sitting there.
What's in the basket?
Oh.
My brother! Your brother!
For the fact that somebody paid a
Or maniac
lawyer.
or taxi driver. Taxi driver's probably the mainstream one to bring up. Why does no one respect my Henenlotter collection?
And in paying the lawyer, so it was a legal expense, that somebody happened to be me. I didn't do the bookkeeping. I didn't even know about it, but a very good bookkeeper marked a legal expense down as a legal expense. They didn't call it construction. They didn't call it building something or concrete or
I don't think hush money is a legal expense.
electrical cost.
Right? Just seems like that shouldn't be a campaign fund thing.
They called,
You know, pay off a sex worker. I don't know.
very simply,
It's hush money, you know?
a legal expense to a lawyer. He was a lawyer, not a fixer. He was a lawyer. Legal expense to a
Two
lawyer.
things aren't mutually exclusive.
They called it legal expense. They said it was marked incorrectly. What else would you call it? It's a legal fee or a legal expense, and we called it.
But it's not a legal expense. Does he think paying someone to not talk is a legal expense? Like, I don't know about that. I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to that. But isn't it kind of like outside of the purview of official campaign funds to be like, hey, here you go. We have campaign money for you to not talk about our personal experience together. I don't know. That seems sus. Like, was it an official NDA? How was it written up? Or was this kind of a under-the-table thing? Because that's certainly not a legal expense. I don't know.
A legal expense.
Still feels very strange. Not sure. It's almost like there's a whole court case happening about this.
This is what the case is about. And it's not about all of the other stuff that you've been seeing, because we're using that
I like the direction of basket case 2 and 3. Yes.
to attempt.
I think taking it in that direction was fun. It's not like as dark and gritty as the first one, but like, that's what the first one is. I don't know.
It's had no
I
impact
like found family narratives, so the basket case sequels are pretty good.
because it's so old. Attempt to do something to me politically. But the good news is the people understand it. Our poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. And it's ridiculous that I'm not going to be out campaigning for another week or two as these thugs, these corrupt thugs, and that includes the judge.
Calling the judge a thug. Yeah, that's great.
He should throw this case out. This case should go no further. Every
Oh, he's doing the Chili de Castro defense. Judge, please, just drop the case.
legal expert, the ones I named and many more, Calabrese, another one, many of them, they came out and they said this case should not go forward. It's not a case. There's no crime. There is no crime. And they failed to show a crime.
I'm glad you're the defendant and not the finder of fact in this case.
This is election interference. It all comes out of Washington. They have their reps here. You know, they have their reps here. I'm sure you know that. But this all comes out of Washington. It's to damage crooked Joe Biden's political opponent, happens to be me.
Trump, there is no crime. My dear audience, I do believe it's perhaps that Mr. Trump protests too much.
And we're leading big in the polls, and the American people get it. It's a scam. So tomorrow we're doing a big rally, and it's going to be in Wildwood, New Jersey. We're going for the state of New Jersey. We think we can win.
Oh, you're going to New Jersey. That's pretty bad punishment, I guess.
New Jersey, and we think we can win a lot because what's happening in our country is horrible. Between inflation and the horrible economy, and the only reason, by the way, the stock market goes up is that I'm leading in all the polls. If I weren't leading,
Now he's doing meme stock logic. There's only one reason the market goes up or down. There are not multiple. It isn't a multi-factor thing. It's not like there are tons of things happening in the economy, in individual companies, and macroeconomics every day that lead to the market movements that we see and then the aggregate of those movements through the entire market. No! It's just Trump! Everything's the Trump show! That makes sense! Hydrate. I can do that.
The stock market would be way down, but I'm leading, and based on the fact that I'm leading, the stock market is up. And if I didn't win, you would have a crash like 1929.
If I don't win, the Wall Street guys are gonna be jumping out of buildings.
Mark my words, I've been right about everything.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Trump.
If I didn't win, you would have a crash like the crash of 1929, because the people...
That's an argument from consequences, even if that were true, which I don't think it is. It has no bearing on whether or not you did these illegal actions that are alleged. It has nothing to do with it. That's an argument from consequences, and the rule of law isn't supposed to care about that.
That are running our government right now are corrupt and incompetent. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, he's doing great. He's just absolutely, he seems awesome. He was in Michigan recently. Unfortunately, in Freeland. There's a place in Michigan. So let's take a look at his speech. This is his goddamn speech he did a week ago in Freeland, Michigan. Thank you, Super Greggy Pants, for the link. We'll save that. Oh yeah, the border thing. I did see that. Let me save that real quick. Thank you. Yeah, that guy throws a fit.
Thank you very much. Hello, Michigan. It's great to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking, God-fearing American patriots, which is...
Oh, we're already doing the Christian nationalism shit. Good, good, good. Good.
What you are. With your help, we're going to win Michigan this November. We're going to elect Mike Rogers to the U.S. Senate.
People who watch me who are in my home state here of Michigan, if you don't get out and vote, I will be so disappointed in you. Go vote against this man. I swear to God, if Michigan goes red, I will be so sad. And you don't want to make me sad. I'm adorable, or so I've been told. So please vote.
We're going to defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we're going to make America great again. Last week, we saw numbers showing clearly that the economy is crashing, with GDP growing and plunging and all over the place.
GDP growing and plunging? Wouldn't you just say plunging? At what point is it growing?
Nobody knows what's happening, especially Biden. But GDP growth was plunging by more than 50% in the first quarter this year. Nobody's seen anything like that for a long time. We now have a thing called stagflation. Does anyone know what that means? It's not good. It's worse than deflation, and it's worse than inflation.
He always talks about everything in these black and white, like, absurd terms. He talks like a kindergartner, and it's so funny.
Stagflation is the worst, and that's what we're in right now, which spells the death of the American dream, and that doesn't even include
Also, I'm pretty sure that's not true. I think we're still going through an inflationary period. Like, inflation happens anyway, but it's higher than usual. I don't think we're in stagflation.
The horrible numbers we're seeing flowing in from...
I don't know if you just heard someone say that, or what.
Poor and crime-ridden countries right across our southern border. They're coming in by the millions. That's why this November, the people of Michigan are going to tell...
Michigan, a state literally all... Like, you would have to be, like, in the northeastern United States, like in Maine, to be further away from the southern border than Michigan. Michigan is nowhere near the southern border. It is on the opposite side of the country, virtually. The idea that there are people in Michigan who act like they care about quote-unquote illegal immigration are the dumbest voters. I swear to God, I see these people and they're like, they're taking our jobs. You live in Michigan. No one is taking your fucking job. Oh my God.
Look at Joe Biden. Biden, you're fired. Get out of here.
Remember that time I was on a terrible reality show? Let's reference that so you vote for me to be the quote-unquote leader of the free world. Hooray. Thanks, non-binary.
The worst president in our history. There's never been anybody like him. In the past 3 years, the average Michigan family has lost $20,000 or $30,000. Think of this, $20,000 to $30,000 thanks to the Biden inflation tax. We have a new term. It's called...
Oh, he's just doing this again. Again, he's like really on this like Biden inflation tax thing.
Tax.
Okay.
It's called inflation tax.
I would love to know, Trump, you're pointing out a problem of inflation, which, by the way, the United States' inflation has actually been lower than the global average. The inflation problem is the effects, the long and medium-term effects of the global pandemic and the global supply chain issues and injecting cash into the economy, which was necessary to keep people going. The inflation was going to be a part of that. And on top of that, companies have taken advantage of that inflation as a cover to increase their profits to record highs. Donald Trump is a Republican. He's not going to fine or do anything to companies raising their prices. He's not going to try and increase wages. So what is his complaint here? He's pointing out a complaint and then not saying about what he's going to do about it, because he's a populist loser who only knows how to point out problems and has no interest in solving them. He wants to enrage people. He wants to point out things that frustrate them to catapult him back into the presidency. He had years to do stuff, and he didn't. The only shit that happened was attempting to undo the Affordable Care Act and cutting taxes on the wealthy. What do you think he's going to do for you people who are struggling? Nothing. Ashley says, those darn Canadians coming over here with their poutine. I want poutine.
We call it the Biden inflation tax. That's
The
what's
Biden
happened.
inflation
Record
tax.
kinds of inflation. And his price hikes are continuing to drain nearly...
His price hikes. The president of the United States is in control of the price of products across the board.
$1,000 from the a typical family each month loses $1,000 on other different taxes. That's what he's done to you.
On other different taxes? What does that even mean?
And by the way, for the auto workers, we'll talk about it later. Your cars are all going to be made in China. Congratulations. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Chicken is up 24%. Baby food is up 30%.
Chicken is up in large part due to the bird flu epidemic sweeping through the populations of livestock. That's definitely... The other stuff also isn't Biden's fault, but that's really not his fault.
Eggs are up 50%. Gasoline is up 54%. Airfares are up 33%. And the 30-year mortgage rate just hit 7.6%. When I left, it was 2.6%. We had no inflation.
We had no inflation.
Everything was so good. Bidenomics is flat-out economic warfare and welfare on the...
Warfare and welfare. That's a statement that only makes sense in that he thinks it's alliterative and sounds good, but the content of those things in that sentence doesn't make sense.
American middle class and low-income
He just thinks that the words taxes and welfare, they think these things are both bad, therefore they will boo it. Jesus Christ. Hydrate.
People, it's a disaster. If Joe Biden wins this election, the middle class loses. But if Trump wins, the middle class wins. People of low income will start their journey toward the American dream. Michigan wins and America wins. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen. Just days ago, Crooked Joe vowed to impose the largest tax in the history of America. It's going to be the biggest tax hike in the history of America. Biden said the Trump tax cuts are, quote, going to expire, and I'm not going to renew them if I'm reelected.
Yeah, I don't want rich people to not pay their taxes.
He had no idea what the hell he was saying, so it doesn't really matter.
So he has no idea what's going on, but he's also an evil mastermind who needs to be stopped. Can't be both of those things at the same time. Fun fact. Agebeard says a cleanse with all the dignity this speech entails. Oh god, what is this? Farting on the moon. I don't want to play that right now.
That means under Biden, a single individual earning $75,000 a year.
A single individual making over $75,000 a year is well above the national average for income. I want to point that out. I think that's about double the national average for an individual.
We'll see an almost $2,000 tax hike and a family of four earning $165,000.
If you are earning $165,000 a year, I'm not concerned about your tax rates. I'm not. You're fine. You're fine.
Think of this. We'll see close to $3,000 in tax hikes over and above what you're paying right now. But instead of a Biden middle-class tax increase, I will deliver...
He thinks those are poor people numbers? Oh, he does. He definitely does.
...a Trump middle-class tax cut, the likes of which you've never seen before. And I already gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country, larger than the Reagan tax cuts many years ago.
Jesus Christ, imagine saying that without shame. Positively comparing yourselves to Satan himself, Ronald Reagan.
You got the largest...
Bonzo should have become the president. Bonzo wouldn't have done this to us.
...tax cuts in history. On day one, we will throw...
Tina, thanks for the raid. I hope you had a great stream. Welcome, raiders. I am Hannah. I'm a leftist variety streamer. Today, unfortunately, we're checking in on Donald Trump and seeing how he's doing. Bad so far. So if you want to stay and watch the pain with us, welcome.
Throw out Bidenomics, and we...
Make sure you check out Tina 2 here on Twitch.
...will reinstate a thing called Maganomics.
That's a bad one. That's worse than Reaganomics. Just the way it rolls off the tongue isn't very fun.
I'll terminate Joe Biden's radical plan to kill Michigan's economy by repealing his insane electric vehicle mandate. Is that the craziest thing?
Weren't you just complaining about gas prices and now you're saying electric vehicles are bad? It costs like $2 to charge an entire electric vehicle to go like 300 miles. These people, I'm telling ya. Profane Priestess says you can't be both, but I remind you, thus by a continuous shifting of rhetorical focus, the enemies are at the same time too strong and too weak. From fascism. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Umberto.
Is that the...
I think the coolest thing about Umberto Eco is that his first name is Umberto, and the second coolest thing is that his last name is Echo. Pretty good.
craziest thing? Everybody's going to have an electric vehicle. By 2030, he wants everyone to have an electric vehicle.
Not everyone to have them, but the manufacturing of new vehicles. Most people don't own new vehicles. Most people own used vehicles. So eventually the new cars produced from 2030 on would trickle through the rest of the used car market over the next couple decades or so. See? See how it takes 5 seconds to think things through?
There's a problem. They're very expensive and they don't go far. Not going far is not good. Also, they're not going to be made in Michigan. They're going to be made in China. Every single one going to be made in China. United Auto Workers, I just want to tell you, the head of the United Auto Workers has really let you down to agree with that whole situation that they just did. That's so good for China, and it's so bad.
How dare this union work to better the rights of workers and their compensation? He's literally saying, union people, you should stop advocating for your own good because China's gonna steal all your factory work. Guess people in China should learn to unionize.
From Michigan.
To be clear, I know that's not feasible given the government in China and stuff, but Jesus Christ. Ugh.
But I'm going to turn it around. We're bringing the car industry back to Michigan. We're going to put...
Baja says my EV was literally made in Lake Orion, Michigan. Yeah, you did tell me, and then it had to be shipped, like, to Ohio and then back to Michigan.
Tariffs on foreign cars, and we're bringing the car industry...
Oh yeah, tariffs always work great.
We're putting tariffs on foreign cars. We're bringing the car industry back to Michigan. The Biden electric vehicle...
But tariffs, their expense is just going to be passed on to consumers. And earlier in this speech, you were trying to claim that, oh, Bidenomics is creating insane price increases. Tariffs increase prices. You're not consistent.
Mandate will be an economic bloodbath. You know, they like to use that word bloodbath now. When I said it, it was perfectly stated. They make it sound bad, but it will be an economic bloodbath. Crooked Joe will rip out your auto jobs and send them immediately to China, who, by the way, you know, he's a Manchurian candidate. He makes a lot of money from China. They give him...
What does he think of Manchurian? Okay, whatever. Green Guy with a $3 tip says, Hannah, I'm curious in November how much voter fraud will be found out of the red side, but of course it'll be called fake news. This will be the first time I vote blue, and I know more friends switched because of the craziness. Well, good for you. I'm glad that you switched. That's wonderful. Jesus Christ. It's gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be bad. I feel like a lot of really far-right Republican voters are radicalized by this shit and conspiracy stuff that we watch on Tinfoil Tuesday, and they're gonna be real on edge on election day. Kind of concerned about that.
A lot of money. What's that all about? Under the Trump administration, we're going to take jobs out of China and bring jobs back to Michigan. We're going to keep Chinese cars the hell out of America. We don't want them. We don't want...
That's not very free market of you.
Chinese cars. Joe Biden wants to take your gasoline-powered cars and trucks, all about within 6 years, he wants to make them electric. It doesn't...
Again, the the thing he's talking about is a rule that would make all new manufactured cars electric. Not banning used cars. It's not forcing you to get an electric car immediately. It's so that the market shifts to electric, and over time that'll trickle down into the used market.
Work. You know, if you want an electric car, I think it's great. I'm all for it. But if you want a gasoline combustion, if you want to have a hybrid, whatever the hell you want, you should be able to get.
I think if it kills everyone else on Earth, maybe we should say no, or at least disincentivize you from taking action that kills everyone else, you know? Just a thought.
Everything will go to very expensive electric vehicles, which don't go, they just have such problems, but they have one problem that is insurmountable. If I want to drive from beautiful...
This is like the dumbasses that were against, like, CFLs or LED lights when those got banned, when the, incandescent lights got banned. I want to use the old inefficient ones that cost me more money because I'm a fucking idiot that's easily manipulated by propaganda. Okay, interesting choice. Peep Lord says, just want to point this out, a used gas car can be maintained and repaired fairly cheaply and easily, home mechanic rocking 2008 vehicles, but used electric vehicles can't because 1, piss poor right to repair, 2, the battery replacement cost is going to be more than the rest of the vehicle and will have a fuck ton of disposal recycling issues. It's almost like complex systems need complex reforms, and if I remember correctly, Trump and his supporters are stupid as hell. Yeah, as the market shifts more to electric, I'm assuming costs are going to go down on that, as it becomes a problem that more places need to deal with. I would assume the manufacturing and distribution of the parts and batteries and knowledge as to how to repair them will become more widespread and easier over time, and the cost will come down. Fenekagami says, because this is tangentially related, the man versus bear question came at the perfect time because it's making male Trump supporters show their asses. I know conservative women who even say with no hesitation, bear. I know 3 SA survivors. One of them is a man, and I knew the man's assailant. I'm 90% sure the piece of crap never targeted me because we used to roughhouse regularly and I always won, so he went for a weaker target. Trump, people like him, and everyone who supports him are cowards. That was a lot.
Michigan, let's say to Mar-a-Lago. What do I have to do?
Yeah, I'm in the north of the U.S.
Stop about 7 times. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. And they want to
Does Trump look older? Oh, yeah.
turn army tanks all electric. So that
If you could do that, honestly, in a battle situation, I'd imagine like diesel or gas that you can carry around is probably better because it's easy to just like fill up a tank or whatever in a situation where you need it. But I don't think having electric options would necessarily be a bad idea. I'm sure there are certain circumstances where that would work.
as we
But I've never heard that before either, so I don't think it's like an immediate thing. You know what I mean? What are you talking about?
go into
It wouldn't surprise me if it's in development, but I'd imagine very early development if that's even a thing.
enemy territory, shooting and shooting and killing and shooting and taking it over, we keep their air nice and clean, right? Isn't that nice? Where do they think? You know, I said something before. I just left Wisconsin. We had an incredible rally in Wisconsin. You know, I got to do 2 of these things a day. You know why? Because I'm in New York all the time with the Biden trial. Biden trial.
Not a Biden trial. Biden has nothing to do with it. It's the Trump trial. What an interesting rhetorical device. Instead of calling it the Trump trial, which is what it is, he's calling it the Biden trial, which isn't what it is at all, but it rhetorically, A, distances himself from the culpability of the alleged crime, and 2, frames it as though Biden is doing this to him when he has nothing to do with this charge at all.
A fake trial that all of the legal scholars say is a disgrace. It's a fake trial. They do it to try and take your powers away, try and take your candidate away that's killing them in the polls. You know, if I
Current generation tanks need jet fuel? That seems incredibly expensive.
didn't run, or if I was like in 4th place or 5th place or not doing well, none of those trials would exist. But we're beating them so big in the polls, your heart is going to swell. We got to get them out. And remember this, they also want to take your gas stoves. They want to give you
Gas, no one said they're going to take it. It was literally like one study that showed like, hey, gas stoves can lead to brain damage over long periods of time. And then Republicans started saying they're going to take it. No one said they're going to take it. There was a study that showed it might cause brain damage. Do you all have gas stoves?
very little water in your dishwashers and your washing machines. You know, they want washing machines with very little water.
Okay, if they function, but they're more efficient, that would be good because it costs money to use a dishwasher. The more energy efficient it could be, the cheaper it would be, and that would be better because you were complaining about prices earlier. Stay on track.
And I'm talking about in states like your state, you don't have a water problem. You do have a water problem. You have too much water.
Oh boy, let's not get into the... Okay. So there are compacts in place in regard to the Great Lakes and drawing water from them? No.
They want to take your water out of your washing machines, your dishwashers. They want to put water restrictors on your sinks and showers. You know, I ended all of that. People would buy a new home, and they were so proud, and they'd say, darling, it's so good. There's only one problem, darling, the sink. No water comes out, like drip, drip, drip. And darling, I have beautiful hair, but I can't do anything because in the shower, the water doesn't come out. Darling, I want to get out.
Are they aware that water pressure is something that you can adjust, like, yourself? Like, that's... Like, when I bought a house, I had to, like, open up the thing and, like, use a screwdriver and change some of the stuff. Like, that's not something that, like, they're doing to hurt you. You just maybe needed to adjust your water pressure or temperature. What? Lennon Cat says, if we tried to ban asbestos and lead paint today, these people would be eating them to own the libs. They did ban asbestos recently. And right-wing people were mad about it. Because it could still be used in certain things. And now it's not allowed. Bittergrin says, I have a low-water dishwasher. It uses less water than the sink and gets stuff cleaner. Yep.
Get out of this house, I hate it. And I say to him, take off the restrictor. But now they made the restrictor where you can't take it off unless you have a blowtorch.
Sorry, Dillis Filler. Dillis Filler says he wants to recreate the conditions when American automakers weren't innovating and Japan completely obliterated U.S. automakers. Tariffs were used as protectionism during that era while GM, Chrysler, and Ford kept making awful vehicles.
Okay? Like our auto workers do, actually. They want your apartments and homes with small windows and every other crazy thing that...
I don't know what that's fucking talking about. Peep Lord says, nope, he just stepped into my wheelhouse. Electric tanks would be far heavier and more dangerous because the relative instability and lower weight to energy ratio of tank engines, which are currently fueled by jet fuel and kerosene. Abrams tank engines are literal jet engines, and batteries are far less stable when subjected to the kinds of shock tanks experience before considering taking impact from rounds and explosives. It actually takes a lot to ignite jet fuel.
Can think of. They don't want you to have large windows because they're not as good with the sun. Actually, in many cases, they're better. I will end all of these ridiculous quality of life destroying mandates just as I did just 3.5 years ago.
This audience are legit really dumb, huh? That's a shame. Senegami says the number one downside of electric vehicles is they're heavier than gas options because of the weight of the batteries, but considering water wheels and solar panels are a thing, it's theoretically easier to refuel and cheaper overall. Not in tactical situations, though.
And days ago, crooked Joe Biden finalized a radical rewrite of Title IX education rules.
Oh boy. So thrilled to hear him talk about this topic.
That will impose the most extreme left-wing gender ideology on every school in America. And I know you'll be extremely happy to know that the new Biden policy is to let men into every girl's bathroom.
Nope.
That sounds reasonable.
Well, he completely mischaracterized it, so that'll do that.
Every bathroom, every locker room, ladies get ready because the men are coming in.
Hey, remember when Donald Trump admitted to being a sexual assailant, and remember when his first wife divorced him citing marital rape? And remember all of the other women, like Jean Carroll, who have said he raped her, and she's won several cases against him about that? And remember how he used to walk into the Miss Teen USA pageant dressing room without any sort of, like, warning, and he's a big creep and wants to fuck his daughter? Cool, maybe stop accusing trans people of stuff, you fucking piece of shit.
They actually signed it. You know, I said in Wisconsin, I just came out and I said, the Republican Party really is the party of common sense. You know, we're conservative, or all that. But whether you're conservative, you're liberal, it's about common sense. We're the party. We want to have strong borders. We want to have low interest rates. We want to have a powerful military. We want to have great. By the way, it's windy as hell up here. Man. I'm getting very little use out of these stupid teleprompters, I'll tell you. Could you imagine if Biden was up here and the teleprompters didn't work? He's no good even when they do work. You know, it still doesn't work. If I blow off the stage, I'll be right back up, I promise.
Pagebird says, the Republican Party is a bigots' rights movement. Nothing more, nothing less. When you understand that, it makes sense. Yeah.
But the gender policy, all of the different things that he's done, they're so bad. It's an attack on women. And remember this, they want to allow men to play in women's sports, okay?
I heard about women's sports talked about in public like 3 times in my life before 2016, 2017. Republicans' sudden interest in women's sports sure is suspicious, since they were the people who made fun of things like the WNBA literally my entire life until it became an issue they could use to try and hurt trans people.
But I promise you I will defend American women like nobody has ever defended them before.
Again, Donald Trump is a rapist.
And under the Trump administration, this lunacy will end on my first day back in the Oval Office. I promise you it will end immediately. And regarding the squatters, where you have a problem, and by the way, you have a terrible governor. I hope you know that. Terrible. Remember during COVID, the only one that had any rights in your state was the governor's husband. Do you remember? Remember, he was sailing, beautifully sailing, and you're not allowed to sail for whatever reason they wanted to keep.
The very down-to-earth comparison of how everyone should go out and sail their sailboats.
Keep you in your house. That didn't work out too well. And regarding the squatters all over the country who are trying to take over your apartments and your homes under the Trump administration, they will be gone immediately. They'll be gone in 2 minutes.
Is he trying to refer to undocumented immigrants as squatters? Because holy fuck.
Joe Biden is the worst, most incompetent, most corrupt president in the history of our country. And Crooked Joe knows that in a fair election, he's going down in a landslide. Every poll is showing that. You've seen the polls. We're leading big in Michigan, by the way. We're leading big. Why wouldn't we? Who wouldn't be? I mean, honestly, who the hell wouldn't be leading? This guy is coming out of a helicopter the other day. He's falling. He's holding on his...
Blissful Peace, thanks for following.
Can you imagine the foreign countries, like I visited China?
Between Trump and Biden, who's better? I'm preferring Biden by a lot.
They must have had 100,000 soldiers there. President Xi is standing...
I find it a little hard to believe that after like, we had an election about this already, and I know you're European. I'm teeing myself up waiting for the other shoe to drop. But if you genuinely don't know, Trump sucks. Trump sucks. People Lord says, I used to talk about women's sports every 4 years. There's an Olympic women's curling team from Korea who's mostly comprised of curlers from a town known for its garlic. So the Korean Garlic Girls curling team combines like all of my favorite things. I hate these ass clowns. Garlic do be good.
Can you imagine falling out of an airplane or coming down the children's stairs as they have 100,000 soldiers? That's why Biden is trying so hard to jail. He wants to jail his political opponent like they do in third world countries.
Hey, what did Trump campaign on the first time? Lock her up. Lock her up. Remember that? And how he's consistently talking about how he thinks Joe Biden is a criminal and should be in jail? Seems a little weird, doesn't it? Seems a little hypocritical, at minimum.
Banana republics. He wants to give it a shot. There's only one problem. Every one of these fake cases is bullshit. Every single one of them. Terrible. And as you know, I've come here today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. What a crowd. I remember in 2020, you know, we got, well, I don't know if you know, in 2020 we got more votes than any president, any sitting president in history by far.
Oh, really? How much did the other guy get? Was it more? Lennon Cat says a major difference between which is worse is that Biden is passively bad. He puts little or no fight for when bad things happen. Trump is actively horrible and actively wants to hurt people. Yeah.
And by the way, there's no way he got 80 million votes, in case you had any questions.
There's no way, except we checked many times and he did. But, you know, it hurts Trump's ego, so we gotta pretend that that's a thing. Very emperor has no clothes of you.
We got more votes than any sitting president by far. They said if I got the 63 million that I got the first time, which we won, that there was no way I could lose. I got millions and millions of more votes than that. And they nipped us. They just nipped it. We're not letting that happen again. We're not letting that bullshit happen again. We're not going to
Good luck.
let it. As you know, I have come here today from New York City, where I'm being forced to sit for days on end in a kangaroo
Oh my god, he's being forced to sit in a courtroom while his lawyers defend him. The horror.
courtroom with a corrupt and conflicted judge enduring a Biden sideshow trial.
Again, this is a state charge. Biden has nothing to do with it.
At the hands of a Marxist district attorney, Soros.
Yes, famously, district attorneys tend to be Marxists.
Who's taking orders from the Biden administration. They're all of these trials.
He has a
By
degree
the way-
in dialectical history.
So if I didn't run, or if I came in fourth, I'd have no problem right now. I'd be in a beautiful someplace.
Dialectical materialism.
I'd be someplace, but you know what?
That would've been a
Honestly, look
better
at this
joke.
crowd. I'd rather be with you. I'd much rather be with you. Much rather. I'd much rather be with you. But what you're witnessing in New York is not a legal proceeding. It's an unlawful exercise in very stupid and very evil politics. But here's the good news. It's driven the poll numbers higher than we've ever had before. Because people get it. It's a scam, and they get it. These indictments are not just an attack on me. They're an assault on the
Norwegian, I appreciate it.
constitutional rights of all Americans. Remember this. Alphonse Capone. Has anyone ever heard of Al Capone?
Syphilis.
Scarface. He would kill people if he looked at them and didn't like them. They'd be dead the next morning. They'd never find the body. He got indicted less than I did. Do you believe it? Scarface.
And that was for taxes. Fun fact.
I got so many indictments. One day I came in, sir, you've been indicted twice today. I said, oh boy, I thought it was going to be 3 times. That's incredible. Now, these are corrupt people. They did this because it's an attack on a political opponent. And a lot of political opponents wouldn't do too well under those circumstances. But I have a relationship with the people, and I explain it to them, and they understand it's a scam, and they understand it's the worst president in the history of our country by far, who couldn't get elected dog catcher, except that he's in a party that's really, really good at cheating. That's one thing. They're not good at policy. They're horrible. Open borders, high
You too, Miss Hire.
interest rates, high taxes, bad military. Everything's bad. No
Bad military.
home.
One word adjective before the military. Bad military. I will make good military. You want military good? Me make good military. Their military bad. Bad is bad. Me make good. Good military. It's like he's talking to kindergartners. Oh my god. Is this the level? Is this the level of so many people who vote? This is the level they think on? I am so annoyed that so many people are so dumb.
Everything's bad, but they're great at cheating in elections. It's about the only thing they do well. The ultimate verdict on this travesty will not come in a courtroom. It will come at the ballot box, and the American people are going to find crooked Joe Biden guilty of trying to destroy our country. He's destroying our country. He's destroying our country. And you know, it's interesting. I said it a couple of times before to large crowds, but what happened is incredible. And we could have done something on Hillary Clinton. I thought it would be a terrible thing for the country, to be honest with you. Terrible. We could have done on other people, too. I thought it would be terrible for the country. And they did on me what was never, ever supposed to happen, especially when there's nothing. But you know what? It was very interesting. When this happened, and it happened very quickly, I changed my tune. I said, thank you very much, because now I speak about him. I had great reverence for the presidency, President of the United States. And I used to talk about him fairly tough, but not nearly as tough as he deserved, because I had respect for the office, not for him so much, but for the office. And now I say he's the worst president in history. He's the most corrupt president in history. He's grossly incompetent. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't have a clue. He is a disaster for our country. And I say it over and over again, and I have no problem in saying it. He's the worst president in the history of our country, and we got to get him out because he's destroying America. He's destroying our great country. In the middle of a presidential
So Trump talking about himself.
election, think of
It is pretty projecty.
it, the Republican nominee for president is being attacked like nobody's ever been attacked before. But all of that being done and all of that being said, the fake charges, the legal targets, everything, and you know, we've had tremendous reviews from great people, Jonathan Turley.
Kagami says Trump was hands down the least popular Republican president amongst the military. A lot of soldiers thought he was an idiot, and his constant attacks on veterans he didn't like didn't help. Not to mention Republicans have been attacking and blocking veterans' care for years now. Yeah, that's one thing that actually makes me feel better about his weird coup attempts and stuff, is he doesn't have the support in the military, at least not amongst the higher ranked that you would expect. Which is good, but still, scary guy.
Andy McCarthy, Mark Levin, Greg Jarrett, Sean Hannity, so many people, but great experts, great legal
I'm sorry, did you just say Sean Hannity is a legal expert?
experts. Alan Dershowitz just came out saying there's no case, there's no crime. He didn't do anything wrong. What are you doing? These are people, not every one of them love me. These are people that just want to speak the truth. They said there's no Andy McCarthy today. There's no case. It's a witch hunt, and we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it. They can't do that.
We're not gonna take it anymore. Dun, 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 dun.
To our country. The judge, by the way, is the most conflicted person in the history. I don't think there's ever been a more conflicted judge.
The most conflicted judge in the history of the universe. I'm telling you, Hammurabi would have looked at this guy and said, "You're fired."
Judge Crooked and
Fuck, that's such a weird non-statement. The most corrupt judge in the history of the world. Like a child telling you a story, like, and then I went to space, and we saw a whale in space, and it was the biggest whale of all time! And then we rode the whale, to a McDonald's on Pluto, and the McDonald's on Pluto had blue fries, and they were the bluest fries to ever fry. And then I got a Happy Meal toy, but it wasn't very good, so we went to Saturn, and then they had a Burger King Big Kids meal, and that toy was good. The best. I don't know.
conflicted, and I'm unconstitutionally gagged. He gagged me, so I'm not even
Phrasing.
supposed to be, I would say, talking to you because he gagged me.
He gagged me. Yeah, stop trying to intimidate witnesses. Or jury.
Think of it. Former president and a very popular president. We had the greatest economy in history.
Yes, when I think of the greatest economy in history, I think the U.S. under COVID. Smart. Screaming at the radio says LOL.
had the best, safest border that we ever had in history. I rebuilt the military. We created.
He rebuilt the military. When a MAGA person hears him say that statement, what triggers in their brain? Like, how do they think he rebuilt the military? What do they think he did? I don't even understand what they think he did.
Space Force, we had the biggest tax cuts in history, the biggest regulation cut.
Regulations are good, actually.
And then I run again and win in the fastest time in the history of the Republican or Democrat Party. I won the nomination. Somebody else would still be campaigning to try and win. I won it 2 months ago. Took down some very talented people very quickly, very precisely, very easily. And I have a judge, politically appointed. I have a judge who gagged me. I'm not allowed to talk about things.
And
Yeah, that's how court cases work.
nobody's seen anything quite like it, I have to tell you. But the good news is we can explain it. Somebody else wouldn't be able to explain it, not because they couldn't, but because there'd be 3 people in the audience. I can explain it. Look at all those fake cameras back there.
I'm assuming he means fake news cameras, but he truncated that to fake cameras, which implies the cameras don't work, which is kind of funny. He used to do this at his campaigns all the time. It feels like he's recycling material at this point from 2016, but in like a really, really, really depressing way. Not even 2020. Feels like he's recycling 2020 too. This is sad. Demibird, thank you for 17 months, says, Twitch tried to make me watch ads, but I resubbed so fast. Been watching for years. Love it here. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much, and thanks for the subscription. It helps a lot. Fenigami says he stopped the wokeifying of the military.
Then I had another judge. These are New York judges. I had another judge, Judge Engoron. He takes assets that are worth billions and billions of dollars, and he says, oh, they're worth just a little bit, like 18 million. He takes an asset that's worth $1 billion, $1.5 billion. He says it's worth 18 because that's his narrative.
Is he confusing the fact that his properties were overvalued with their actual value? Does he not even understand why he's in trouble? Hydrate. Like, that's part of the issue, is that they were overvalued by your people.
And they come out against me on something where it was absolutely perfect.
It was perfect. P-Lord says, remember when he was gagged by the IRS about his taxes and he was more than happy to abide by that gag despite not at all being gagged or under audit? Yeah, asinine.
And he said, oh, you're rich. Pay a $500 million fine. $500 million! And we want a bond. But the problem is bonding companies don't do bonds of that amount. They do a bond for $1 million, $2 million. They don't do bonds of $500 million. But he
certainly not for you, considering you don't pay. So
comes up on a perfect trial, great financial statements. I built a great company. He comes out and he fines me $500 million. And he found me guilty before the case even started. He said, he's guilty. And the guy doesn't even, the other day, he didn't know what cash was. We said, we're going to put up all cash. And he didn't know what that meant. And this is the guy that's ruling on me in New York. And then we have—
Where did you get $500,000 in cash? Like, I understand that he is purportedly incredibly wealthy, but I'd imagine that's tied up in property and other illiquid assets. Where did he get $500,000 in actual cash? That's weird, isn't it? Just a thought. H-Bird says, sadly, I think part of the reason he's still a viable candidate is because the pandemic was a traumatic experience, so people just block it out. His followers have built an identity where they're brave, wise patriots who'd take a bullet for their country. They all found out that they were too scared to sit for their country, let alone fight for it. I think you're thinking too hard about it. I don't even think it's necessary for them to block that out. They just like Trump. They like Trump.
I have another one in New York who gave someone $91 million because they said I defamed her. Because—
Stop doing it then. Are you doing it again? Are you gonna defame her again?
I said her story isn't true, I defamed her.
Technically that's him saying what he said, so maybe that might not. Is he gonna do it again? Is he gonna keep giving her money? That's so funny.
$91 million! $91 million! Oh,
it's trying to get it over 100? What are you doing here?
So anyway, hopefully the appeal process works, because if it doesn't, you just don't have a country.
If I have to pay restitution for slander, then there's no country. Does he just think the country is him? Trump thinks he is the USA, and bad things that happen to him are bad things happening to the country.
$91 million because I defamed her.
Did you find a real-world infinite money glitch? Right? The Bed Bath & Beyond people should be taking notes.
Unbelievable, and I didn't defame anybody. Businesses all over the world are watching. They're fleeing New York State because of all of this crap that's going on. They're fleeing, and they're not coming back either.
I'm sure the population of New York continues to rise year over year.
not coming back, and hopefully the court system will straighten out, because all over the world they're watching this stuff. They're watching this current trial, and they're seeing what a scam it is, and they don't like it. Nobody likes it. But hopefully we'll win all of that stuff easily on appeal. We haven't had a decision here, but the decision here can probably only be one thing, I guess, because this whole thing, it's a rigged deal. It's a rigged deal.
Everybody's saying it's a rigged deal.
And we shouldn't allow this to happen in this country. We can't allow this to happen in this country. But the fact is, the important vote to me is the vote on November 5th, because it's going to turn out to be the single most important day in the history of our country. And we're going to get things straightened out.
For you, it might be the difference between you spending the last years of your life in jail or not, so I can see why that would be important for you.
We're like in the Soviet Union. That's what's happened to this country. You know, we are.
Fuck, this man is old. We're like the Soviet Union. That'll get the youth vote out.
Okay, go ahead. Let's go. Let's go. Think of this. Just think of this. Joe Biden failed on the border. He failed on inflation.
You literally told Republicans to vote against funds for border security so you could continue to use this as part of your stump speech.
He failed on gas prices. He failed.
Literally, gas prices are not the purview of the president.
On every single thing, including Afghanistan, the most vicious, embarrassing day or period in the life of this country, Afghanistan.
The pullout of Afghanistan was initiated by you, and the planning was done under you. The actual pullout date was under Biden, but your administration was the one that started that and actually planned the removal. And people from your administration met up with Al-Qaeda and had discussions prior.
Remember that disaster? The most embarrassing day. He failed on every single thing he touches turns to shit. Every single thing he touches turns out to be no good. He's no good on policy. He's no good on military. He's no good on finance. Our country is crashing. He's no good on inflation. Inflation is a disaster. It's eating you alive. It's a wonder Joe Biden and his thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them. We are the only ones. You know, when I say we have a big group of people like this all over the place, and we have more voters. I say we have
I want to see a wide shot. How many people are here?
250 million people. I say we have 250 million people that want to see our country.
Let me see if I can find another perspective, because I am curious how many people were at this.
Running all night. Can you imagine Iraq?
I would like to see a wide shot, please.
We've made a lot of videos together over.
There we go. Oh, are they still doing the Let's Go Brandon thing? That's pretty funny.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
I say we have 250.
All right. I gotta pee real quick. I will be right back. Well, I am gone. Chair will tell us who the real murderer is. I'll be back. Tankagami says, reminder, a lot of Trump's failed business ventures were successful companies that failed after he joined. Trump is so bad at business, he couldn't get a casino off the ground. Hey, casinos are really hard. The house loses all the time. Isn't that how the saying goes?
Country be great again. In the new Emerson poll just came out, we're up 4 points in Michigan. In another one, we're up 7 points. And I saw one where we're 11 points up in Michigan. And why wouldn't we be? We're also leading in every single swing state, every one of them.
Unironically, if he actually wins Michigan by 11 points, I can't even finish the joke. It was so viscerally going in a dark direction, I didn't put on any sort of cautions in my brain before I formulated the joke, and I can't finish the joke. I apologize, that's on me. Steve with the Q says there are roughly 244 million people in the US who will be eligible to vote on November, so even if he sways all of them, where will Trump get the other 6 million?
That's why we have to watch the cheating. Keep your eyes open. Watch the cheating. The radical left, Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, but we're not going to allow them.
Or you just lost.
To rig the presidential election, the most important day of
If
our...
I was a MAGA person, I'd ask how. If you are genuinely of the opinion that the last election had some sort of abnormalities, which there's no evidence to that effect, but let's imagine that you believe it, why would you assume it would be any different this time? He's not given any sort of plan or reason it would be different. He's just saying, go vote. You said it didn't matter last time, so why would they?
Our lives in 2024, we're not going to allow it. We're going to protect the vote, and I'm pleased to, this is the first time I've announced this, actually, announced that our campaign is going to be leading a historic effort in conjunction with the RNC, that's Republican National Committee.
If you don't know what RNC stands for, please don't vote. Chiba Hawk says, knock knock, who's there? No one. I realized the response is too dark and contains TOS. Bazinga!
The state parties and a team of the most highly qualified lawyers and other professionals.
As we all know, Trump always hires the most qualified people. Historically, that works out great for him. He has the best lawyers. The best.
In the country to ensure that what happened in 2020 will never happen again. We're not going to allow it to happen again.
What happens if I do this?
The only good thing about 2020, it showed how bad they are. It showed what a rotten job they do. That's why we're more popular now than we were 4 years ago, because you like Trump. And you know what I hate? When these guys get on television, they say, the pundits, you know, the great pundits that never did a thing in their whole lives. You know, we
Says Trump.
have two very unpopular candidates. We have Biden, and we have Trump. These are very unpopular. I'm not unpopular. We had 94%, 95% popularity in the Republican Party. I'm not unpopular.
Do you know that Republicans aren't the only people in the United States? And I also don't know if that number holds up currently for Republicans, but, like, that's irrelevant. That's not the entirety of the country. Festdemon says, sir, you lost the popular vote twice.
Amazing.
Gonna pull a hat trick and do it 3 times. Stone Corbell says, how many people voted against him in 2020 again? More than voted for him.
Unpopular. I'm unpopular with China. China doesn't like me too much. You know, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No other president took in 10 cents. Other countries, Germany, other countries, I did a lot. Oh, I love that. Look at that young lady. Turn that around. I love that. Wow. That's beautiful. Wow. I want to buy that from you. I want to wear that. Thank you, darling. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Really beautiful.
I have no idea what it was.
No matter how you vote, whether it's early on election day, by mail or in person, it doesn't matter. We'll make sure your ballot is secure. We want to make you sure, but we're going to be sure that your ballot's secure. You're not going to put in ballots that don't count. You're not going to put in and do things. You're not going to have other people not there, but putting in a ballot. Like a couple of cases that you happen to hear about. I'm sure you heard about a little.
None of that was ever shown to be true. You lost every court case you tried to bring about voter fraud because it didn't exist.
A place called Detroit, right? Where they had more ballots than they had voters. A little thing like that.
That didn't happen. Wasn't that Mike Lindell misreading something and thought that Minnesota vote counts were from Michigan, if I remember correctly?
And then by the time the people got screamed at all night, they sort of said, oh, they were...
Because he read MN and he thought it stood for Michigan, but Michigan's abbreviation is MI. Minnesota's is MN. H. Baird says, Dear Donald, for the 1000th time, the Chinese aren't the ones who pay tariffs. Americans are the ones who pay the tariffs. That's how tariffs work.
Called every name under the book, and they sort of said, oh, but they had, think of it, they had more ballots than they had voters. We're not going to let it happen again. And you have to be very vigilant, too, because you can see it. You see it happening better than anybody else. It's really a source. We're going to watch the radical left Democrat like hawks. All these Democrats we're going to watch like hawks.
Again, I think this discussion is going to lead to some events on Election Day in which some crazy right-wing, like, weirdo is going to see... I don't even know, someone that they clock as thinking is, like, doing election fraud, or they'll just, like, look at their identity and think they don't like them or something, and do something fucked up. I hope not. I really, really hope not. But I'm really afraid of it after all of these people who spread conspiracy theories about the elections, how serious they've made this sound, and how much they've just, like, ramped up the rhetoric. Concerns me.
Because, honestly, I don't like saying this. They cheat like hell. They cheat like hell. In plenty of other places, too. And we're going to make America great again. It's very simple. We're going to make our country great again. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and
Marxist communists.
fascists
There's tons of those in America.
indict me, I consider
Indicted, locked up, and remember that?
it a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. Never
No, you're being indicted for your alleged crimes.
forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom.
I think this actually works as an actual pipe. There are actual holes in here. Could have used this on the 420 stream.
Because I will never let them take away your freedom, and it's good. It's good.
I am what I am. Gug, 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 gug. Popeye also has a pipe. I'm sorry, I lowered myself to the Dave Coulier school of comedy, and now I feel dirty. Dave Coulier's from Michigan. Full circle.
Never. And it's good that I have a good memory. You know why? Because this teleprompter is facing you, not facing. These teleprompters are just gonzo, folks. They're gonzo. I hate to use the word folks. Cross out the word folks. You ever hear Biden? Every other word is folks. Okay, folks. It's like a nervous habit. I don't use the word folks.
Are we going to talk about weird speech patterns, Trump? Because, oh boy, I don't know if that's the road you want to go down.
Silence me, because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me. They're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way.
No, it's you.
Standing in their way. And I really, it's an honor to have this crowd. This is a hell of a crowd. That's a big, look at it. They go past the hangar.
There it is. They're doing the USA chant. Vacuous, vacuous, vacuous.
You know, I ask this all the time, and it never happens. It's very sad, actually. But I ask it all the time. It never happens. I want the press to take their cameras and turn them around. And right from the beginning, from 2015, you know, before we ran, and as we had these big crowds, never an empty seat, but we had the big crowds. And I would ask them, turn around and show the crowd. And even the ones that are semi-friendly, they just wouldn't do it. And I thought it was a mechanic.
The cameras aren't necessarily on swivels. I don't know what kind of equipment they brought, but they might have brought a stationary tripod that exists, and the camera's focus is all set up for you too. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know.
Mechanical problem.
It's also not what they're there for. They're not there to convey your particular rhetoric point visually.
That they couldn't do it, but they could. I learned that they could. There you go. But I'd like him to turn the camera backwards and see the crowds and see the people that can't even get in here. And I thought it was a mechanical. I figured the steel, and you can't turn the camera.
I figured the steel and the camera.
And then in 2016, there was a very bad fight in the backhand, left-hand corner of the room, and the cameras hardly had access to it. And those cameras turned around like a pretzel. And I realized they don't want to show our crowds. They don't want to.
It's not what they're there for. They're here to listen to you.
Show our crowds.
Not try and, again, push some sort of false sense of popularity through the people at your rally. Very strange.
I'd love you and the fake news media to turn the cameras around and show the crowds. It would be a great thing. Watch. The cameras will be dead on. They never do it. Because they're fake. That's why we call them the fake news. That's why we call them the fake news. So we're pleased to be joined. It makes no sense. You know, it would be more exciting for somebody watching at home to see a big crowd. But for some reason,
That's
they just
it's
don't.
politics. It doesn't need to be exciting. I don't want it to be exciting. I want it to be policy-based, evidence-based, not, look at how many people showed up to scream at me. Oh my god. Everything's a joke.
Do it, and I guess they're instructed by the boss not to do it. But we're going to kick the boss's ass pretty soon.
Again, as if Joe Biden is the
We're pleased
boss
to be
of the
joined
news.
tonight by a man who is going to be a warrior in the United States Senate. And more importantly, he's just going to be a winner. He's going to win this race. This is going to be, I think, an easy race. He's highly respected. Mike Rogers will vote to secure our borders, crack down on sanctuary cities, support our police, and stop the crime that is ravaging your communities and ravaging our countries. He'll vote to block the Biden tax hikes. He'll allow nothing to happen bad to our country. He's going to stop.
That's not even a reasonable thing anyone could promise. We promise nothing bad will happen to the country if you vote for us, please. Like, how immature.
Things from happening bad to our country. The Michigan auto industry will be demolished if you don't have guys like him.
That already happened, man. You're like 40 years too late. Jesus Christ.
But you're going to have me. I'm going to save your industry, and we're going to make your industry much
Go watch Roger and me.
bigger.
Fuck me.
Because we're going to put tariffs on cars that are coming into our country. I don't know if you know it. By the way, before I do with Mike, China is building some of the largest auto plants in the world along our border in Mexico, and they think they're going to take those cars and sell them into the United States and lose all your jobs in Michigan. And you ought to tell the head of the auto workers, as a union boss, he stinks, because what he's allowing to happen to you as union workers, and we're going to get 95% of the auto workers anyway. But we're going to put tariffs on those cars, and we're not going to let them sell those cars in the United States. We're not going to let it happen. Mike will be facing off against a far-left liberal lunatic named Slotkin. She's terrible. She's terrible. Not respected in Washington, laughed at, gives everything away to the opponent, very big for China. She fully supports banning gas-powered cars and trucks. She wants you by the way, especially you, somebody that's against gasoline-powered cars, you can't have them in this
Why?
state. Because if you told me you want to have her, And if somebody wanted to fight me on gas powered, then we can't make your auto industry great, because it's only going to be the hybrids and the gasoline powered cars that are going to turn around your state. So you have no choice but to vote against the slot kid.
What the fuck? He's rambling. We already have gas-powered cars. If that was gonna somehow bring the auto industry roaring back to Michigan, it would have. If anything, new build-outs of electric factories and trying to grow that part of the industry would create jobs. What are you talking about?
Is also an open borders extremist who has repeatedly voted for.
I don't think there's a single person in Congress who is in favor of literally open borders. I don't think there's a single one who's on the record as saying that. Certainly not in the Senate, maybe in the House.
Mass amnesty. She is not. I don't think she's going to. I tell you, Mike, I think you're going to win this thing big. A vote for Slotkin is a vote to raise your taxes, kill Michigan manufacturing jobs, and flood your communities with illegal aliens and a lot of Chinese-built electric vehicles. I don't think we want them in Michigan.
Why? Why?
That's why you must vote for Mike Rogers, highly respected.
If they build cars that are reliable and functional and a decent price, why? Why should they not sell them here?
No matter where he goes. Mike, come on up, Mike. Come on up. Come up here. Hi, Mike. Mike. Thank you, man.
Thank you for this, by the way.
Say a couple of words,
Thank you.
yeah.
Mr. President, this crowd is fired up because they know when you get into the...
Profane Priestess says, I'm in favor of open borders, but that's because I'm based in immigration as an objective good. I agree, actually. I think if capital can move across borders, labor should be able to as well. It creates a lopsided proposition, and it still would be, because obviously moving is an expense that people just don't have. But the arbitrary limitations and the ability to move capital production and the production of materials to companies where you can take advantage of cheap labor, but those people are locked into their labor market and don't have the ability to move somewhere where they might get paid better. Like, it's a fucked up system.
White House, these folks have your back, too. And they know, and they've been telling America, and they're going to go door to door for you, for me, for the Republican Party, and tell the rest of our state and our country that help is on the way. Yeah. And just one last thing, Mr. President, I had a slight little lead to show that you were a little bit popular in the Republican Party. Donald Trump endorsed me. 2 days later, I was 60 points ahead of our opponents. Wow. Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for what you're going to do. Thanks for having the courage to stand up when so many would not. Thank you, Mr. President.
We're with you all the way. Yes, sir. He's going to win.
I'll be voting against him, so...
It was an...
H-Baird says, for those who don't know, conservative news has been telling their viewers that we're going to be at war with China any day now. Ironically, if they'd been successful in starving Ukraine of funding, that could have given China enough confidence to attack Taiwan. Yeah.
Honor to endorse him, and I'll tell you, he's respected all over. He's respected by everybody.
China, like, I understand that we have, like, issues, like, the global goals of China and the United States do not necessarily align, but it would be devastating to both parties to go into any sort of active conflict with each other because of the obvious symbiotic relationship between American consumerism and the domestic manufacturing base of China. Like, it would be so fucking bad for them and us. I'm not saying it's impossible. Countries have gone to war and hurt themselves plenty of times before. It's just not a good idea. It would be quite stupid.
You have a rare choice there. Normally you come in, people haven't heard his. He's a man who was tested and highly respected in Washington, and that's what you need, especially with the car industry and all of the other things. I thought that was China. That was a loud plane. That was an old one. Those old ones are a little loud.
Oh my god, he's so dumb.
We're also pleased to be joined by
His random patter is terrible.
Michigan GOP Chair, Ambassador, and a very good friend of mine, Pete Hoekstra. He's fantastic. Pete, hi Pete, thank you. How we doing, Pete? Everything good? I hear very good numbers, yeah, thanks. Pete is fantastic, was a congressman, was an ambassador, and everything he did, he was really successful at. He was with me all the way. Michigan Senate Republican leader, Eric Nesbitt. Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Great job. Doing a great job. Michigan House Republican leader, Matt Hall. Thank you, Matt. Great job. And we have a lot of others. And we have a woman who I think is a fantastic woman. And she's become like a television star. She's on a lot, and she only says great things about me, so I like her. If she didn't say great things, I wouldn't, but I do. I like her a lot.
He's just saying the quiet part out loud, lamp-shading his narcissism.
Tudor Dixon. Tudor.
Oh, God. This fucking lady. We told you no! Go away!
Thank you.
Tudor Dixon ran for governor last cycle and lost, luckily.
Great job you're doing, Tudor. On day one of my new administration, I will seal the border, stop the invasion,
He'll
and
seal it with caulk.
send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home where they belong. Less than 4 years ago, we had the most secure, the best, the safest border by far in U.S. history. We ended catch and release. We built 571 miles of border wall. We were getting ready to add another 200 miles. We would have had it done in approximately 3 weeks. The wall was all built, all ready to be put up. And then we had a rigged election, but it was all ready to be put up. But we built more than I said.
It was definitely ready, everyone. It was ready to go. And also, walls and fences are super effective.
We were going to build, and we had another 200 miles coming. Would have been great, filled up some of the loops, and they decided they didn't want to put it up. That's when I realized they're open border fanatics, and that's the way it works out. And remember,
Most people who are in the country that aren't supposed to be legally overstay their visas. They don't literally walk over the border illegally. Jesus Christ. I hate these people. They're so dumb.
this, I said to Mexico,
I also don't really give a shit, by the way, because I think immigration is fine, basically, regardless of any of the, like, factors, you know.
you got to give
The vast majority of people trying to come to the United States just want to come and try and do something, make some money, maybe send it back home, or find a new home because the place they come from sucks. It's fine, I get it.
us 28,000 soldiers. They laughed at me. They said, what do we do that for? And I like the president of Mexico very much. He's a socialist, but that's okay. He's a nice guy.
H-Bird says, remember when Trump could have had his wall fully funded and built in 2019 in exchange for the DACA fix, but he nuked the deal, had the longest government shutdown, and didn't get anything he wanted? Pepperidge Farm remembers. The odd of the deal.
I said, you got to give me 28,000 soldiers to protect the border because you're killing our border. You're sending all these people in.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember this. He wanted to send active military to the border? Yikes.
Caravans. And he said, I can't do that. I said, you're going to do that. You have to do that.
It's literally illegal. Like, having the military in the United States, like, that's no bueno. You're not supposed to do that.
Anyway, I said, I'm putting a 100% tariff on everything that you send into the country from now on. They said, we would be pleased to give you 28,000 soldiers. And they did. And we had the safest border in the history of our country, and now we have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border like it. Crooked Joe Biden, in his horrible way, it's just he's made our country a dumping ground. In Venezuela, violent crime is down 67% because they took their criminals and their gang members and their drug dealers and they moved them into the United States of America.
What?
And their crime is now down 67%. That's
He's literally trying to paint this as like a Cuba situation from the... God, when was the Cuba thing? Uh,
a beauty. And right here in
late 70s, early 80s, Jimmy Carter was the president. I'm pretty
Michigan,
sure.
your state has been
Ashley One Up says, tell us, Trump, are the undocumented migrants in the room with us right now?
being torn up to pieces with migrant crime. It's a new term, migrant crime. 3 months ago,
People who are from other countries living in the country have a lower crime rate than residents, fun fact, or rather than citizens.
an illegal alien criminal was sentenced in Kent County for executing a 22-year-old Grand Rapids woman while she was in the car with her 1-year-old baby, shooting her at least 5 times, 4 times in the head with a rifle at point blank range while the killer was, and he was wanted all over the world. He couldn't get in during the Trump administration, but like everybody else, he just walked in during the Biden administration, killed this woman viciously and violently. In Oakland County, organized squads of illegal alien gang members, and they are taking over. The only thing good about them is they make our criminals look like nice people, okay?
He's just a racist piece of shit. Like, I know that we all know this. I know I'm not saying anything extraordinary. I know, but it is still flabbergasting to me that this man gets up on stage and with all the information we have about, like, fascism and how people use, like, anti-immigrant or xenophobic rhetoric in general in order to embolden, like, far-right populist movements, and none of these people see it. Like, it pervades pop culture. Like, the 20th century is saturated with warnings and parables about the dangers of this. Presumably the people here who support him are familiar with the canon of the pop culture of the 20th century, and just all of it went over their head or through their ears. Just fucking wild to me. Oh.
These are rough people. They're hiding in the bushes, breaking into rural and suburban homes after dark, looting them for jewelry, purses, electronics, watches, cash.
Fear-mongering hypotheticals. A brown person's gonna fucking break into your house and kill your children. Fuck off.
Than I do. That's in Oakland, but it's all over your state. It's all over almost every state. And last week in St. Joseph's County, an illegal alien was charged with breaking into a Michigan home and sexually assaulting 2 young girls while threatening to kill them if they...
You're literally a rapist. You're a homegrown American rapist, though, so I guess that makes it so the followers of yours want to vote for you?
screamed or tried to escape. When I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of the American suburbs, cities, and towns.
Jesus Christ, these people are idiots. Dangerous ones. I have to use the bathroom again. While I'm gone, Cher will tell you who the real murderer was last time they made a grave error, and, sorry, someone is in jail because of it, but they're gonna do better this time. Alright. The murderer's in the chat right now. Who is it, Cher? Who was the murderer? Overthought says the case he mentioned in Kent County was a domestic violence act and had nothing to do with the ethnicity of the people. He also claimed to talk to the family of the victims, and they affirmed they did not talk to him. Oh, wow. That's a ridiculous lie.
We're going to stop it, Cole. We will immediately end all sanctuary and deadly sanctuary cities. I will shift massive...
He just adds random, scary, simple adjectives to things.
portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, and we will impose a naval blockade on the cartels, because when we clean up the land, and they come in by sea, and they have plenty of money to do it. We will put...
Is he under the impression that the Coast Guard doesn't already try and suss out, like, cartel activity? Does he think the cartels are the official government of Mexico? How does he expect this to work? Profane Priestess says, our economy literally can't function without immigrants. If we massed an army on the border with Mexico to ensure breakdowns in our relationship with them, it would be a nightmare. Hell, several GOP candidates have advocated crossing the border, a literal act of war. Mexico is America's second biggest trade partner, right behind China and ahead of Canada, Germany, and Japan. Antagonizing our neighbors of the South would be ruinous to us culturally, economically, and above all, morally. This is from last week, Zane, when he was in Freeland, Michigan. Yeah, I feel like it's similar to a Brexit situation where there are Americans who genuinely believe in American exceptionalism and think that America can stand on its own and, like, just be a hegemonic world power without the support or, like, smart world politicking, just pushing everyone around. And that could have worked for a lot of the 20th century, and it did. But it's not the 20th century anymore. Other countries have amassed a lot more power and political influence. The global economy is global and not so America-centric, so you don't have the weight to throw around that you used to, so you have to learn to work within the framework of a global economic and political system where you are part of a plurality rather than the bully at the top that just gets to tell everyone what to do. Donald Trump is running for president like it's 1984, and it's not, and I don't mean the book, I mean just the year. Like, it's the 80s, like it's 1986 or something. Like, this is not the position the United States has in the global order, but he thinks it is. Strange.
Put the cartels out of business. They will be out of business, and quickly. And on day one, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Gross.
Right? Thank you. All you need to know about Joe Biden is that every 100 days he's adding 500,000 illegal immigrants and $1 trillion in debt. Remember this. They're coming in by the millions. I think
it's a costume pipe. It's just part of a Sherlock Holmes costume. There's nothing in it.
The real number already in our country is 15 million. That means traffickers, usually mostly in women. That means drug dealers, but it means a lot of people. And these are people coming out of jails and prisons. They're coming out of mental institutions, insane asylums. These are not people we want. And they're coming from all over the world. You know, they're not coming just from South America. Last week they came, 22 came out of...
He thinks Mexico is South America, doesn't he? Or that it's in South America? Am I crazy? Does he think Mexico's in South America?
Prisons from the Congo in Africa. We wish them well. From the Congo, they came out rough people. Where do you live? The Congo. Where are the Congo? We came out of prison in the Congo. They've emptied their prisons from South America, from Africa, from all over the world, including even places in Europe. They've emptied from Asia. They've emptied their prisons into the United States of America. Prison population all over the world is down, and nobody knows why except for us. We know why.
What are you talking about?
Because the prisons are being emptied into the United States, and the mental institutions are being emptied into the United States of America like we're a
If we could fill up American mental institutions with some of the more extreme people I cover, I think it might be a good thing. Captain Squid says, countdown to Trump holding up a map with South America scribbled in Sharpie over Mexico.
dumping ground because we have a president who's a stupid person, or he hates our country. Or he hates our country. And this is not sustainable by no country can sustain this. Nothing like this has ever happened, and no country can sustain this. Crooked Joe with his insane border policies will destroy Medicare and Social Security because they're going to go out of business. And you know that illegal aliens coming into our country...
A fun fact, you can't pull from Social Security or any kind of social services unless you're a citizen because you need a Social Security number, or at least some sort of proof of, like, residence as you're allowed to be there, right? What are you talking about? You can't get Social Security without a Social Security number.
Under Biden are treated better than our vets. Our vets aren't treating as well.
Oh man, Republicans should stop voting against things to help veterans then, since they're always the ones that are doing that. Great.
They're not being treated as well as illegal aliens who are occupying luxury hotels in cities. Can you believe it? What's going on? So horrible. As president, I will always protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors. 100.
I think all of Trump's properties should be seized and turned into either affordable housing or places for immigrants to stay. That would be ideal.
100%, just as I have for 4 years. And by the way, while we're on it, it was always the plan from the great legal experts of this country and even the world, everybody, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, they wanted to get abortion out of the federal government. You know that. They've been trying to do it for 50 years. Then about 10 years ago, people lost their way, started talking about how many months they have, how many months are we allowed, how many weeks are we allowed.
Tea Time Tea says, I work for state Medicaid. Our governor recently requested anything proving we enroll illegal immigrants. Guess what? We don't. It's all lies. Yep.
Where does it take place? How does it take place? Who are the doctors? They started getting into things that had nothing to do with the original discussion on Roe v. Wade. They forgot the idea to take abortion out of the federal government. That was the idea. And to move it into the states and let the states make the decision.
Fucking monster. How about you let individual people make decisions about their own bodies and health, you fucking piece of shit.
The people decide. After 50 years, we were able to do that, and now you're seeing it done. Some people will be happy, some people will be okay, some people won't be quite as happy.
People are dying, and will continue to die because of the decision. I don't care if some religious extremists are upset. I care about the lives and well-being of people, and the decisions that they should be making about their own health with themselves and with their doctor. So go fuck yourself. This isn't an intellectual point. This isn't well articulated. I'm just mad. I'm just mad.
Some will be thrilled. Some of the decisions, they vary quite a bit. Some are in conservative states and they're more liberal than they would have liked to see them. Some are in liberal areas and they're more conservative than they would have liked to have seen them. And some people are thrilled at the concept of exactly because everybody basically wanted to get it out. It's wrong to be in the federal government. They wanted to get it out. The states now decide on abortion, and you go to the states, and the states come out, and they decide, which is what everybody wanted for over 50
years. He's literally just lying and acting as though people didn't want to protect and keep Roe v. Wade.
50 years, and we got it done. This is different. Remember, from the standpoint of what's happening, nobody wants to see abortion in the 8th month or the 9th month, or nobody wants to see execution after birth.
Not a thing?
You have
Literally not a thing. Are they still lying about this?
a situation where Democrats, in many cases, will allow it execution after birth. The 7th, 8th, 9th month, and after birth, execution.
No? You can get late-term abortions, but they're incredibly rare, and that's not an execution, you psycho.
And if you remember,
What the fuck?
governor of Virginia said it. He said, I sit, we talk with the mother along with the doctor. She has the baby, we put the baby aside, and we decide what to do with the baby, meaning, do we execute the baby? This is called radical politics. This is something...
That's not a thing. It's literally not a thing. These idiots just get lied to and they believe it.
They are far more radical, but it's not even a question of that. It's a question that we have to take care of the situation. Getting it back to the states was something that was very important to everyone. We had to take the radicalism out from the Democrats because when you can do execution or killing at a point in the life cycle, it just can't be allowed, or we're not going to allow it. But now states are deciding, and some people are very happy because it's a liberal policy, and it is. It's a liberal policy, or it's a very conservative policy, but we brought it back to those states where everybody's been fighting to have it for 53 years, and it's taken a lot of courage and a lot of oomph and a lot of controversy out. A lot of controversy has now been taken out. You've seen what's taken place over the last period of a couple of months. People are getting together and they're deciding within their own states. And remember this, as a politician, you have to have heart. You have to have what your heart determines, and you have to fight for what's in your heart and what's the right thing to do. But remember, you also have to get elected. Getting elected is also important, not only on this issue, but on taxes and military and everything else. You have to get elected, because if you don't get elected, it goes back to the federal government, perhaps, or you have many other things that can go wrong. So go with your heart, do what's right. Everybody wanted this to be done. Every legal scholar wanted this to be done.
No, they didn't.
Most Democrats wanted it.
What? You fucking liar!
Liberals
just the lies!
wanted it. This was a while ago. Then they changed their mind. They viewed it as a political deal. A lot of bad things will happen beyond the abortion issue if you don't win elections with your taxes and everything else. So it's been very interesting. And again, some states have been right where they wanted to be. Other states have gone more liberal than they wanted, and some have gone more conservative. But it's all working out, and the votes are coming up now in certain cases, and it's all starting to work out, and it's going to ultimately bring our country together. It gets the vote down to the people. We did something that took courage. We did something that everybody wanted to see. But now I say it's up to the states, and I want to thank the Supreme Court justices for
Royal Ann with a $2 super chat says Virginia's governor is a Republican.
having the courage. Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito,
Can't say what I want to say.
John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, for the wisdom and the courage to do this. This took a great deal of courage and a great deal of wisdom to do this. And all we want to do is we have to get our country back together. It takes a very long fought-over issue, an issue that was never going to be resolved, according to many. It brings it back to the states where every legal scholar and where most people wanted to see it.
Nope!
And it's working out. So I just...
You know, I don't think states should have the right to take away rights from individuals within those states because of their religious beliefs. Believe it or not.
I want to thank the Supreme Court for the wisdom and for the courage, and thank you very much. From the very first day that we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden, I believe we're going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. I think we can do that. It's not easy. Not easy with what they're giving us, I will tell you. But the one thing that has been interesting about this 4 years
It shows how bad their policies are. It shows that their policies don't work. And one of the reasons we are more popular than we were 4 years ago, we were very popular, but more
You
popular
really believe that?
is because
That's so fucking absurd.
they're so bad, they're so incompetent, they're so evil, they're so corrupt, and it makes us look that much better. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, we win, all of us together are going to win, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I know
Again, the settling is just him letting Russia fucking steamroll and just stop giving Ukraine aid. That's not the kind of settling I think is good.
both. I will get it settled.
Donald Chamberlain. God fucking damn it.
We will demand that Europe pay much more for the cost of defense. You know, we're paying the lion's share to Ukraine.
Bill.
And I keep saying, why isn't Europe paying more? You know, the economy of Europe, if you add up all the various countries, is about the same size as the United States. They've got plenty of money. Why are we paying, and they're paying very little by comparison? They have to equalize, and they have to equalize fast. It's not right. And remember, it's more important to them. We have a thing called an ocean between us. Much more important to them. They have to come up with the money. That means somebody has to ask them. You know, I did it with NATO. I said, you're not paying your fair share. They said, you're the only one that's ever said that. I was the only president. Bush.
If you want to have global hegemonic power, then you spend money. That's soft power. If you want to have global influence, that costs money. You don't just get it for no reason, dipshit.
Would make a speech. Obama would make a speech. They'd all go and make speeches, and they'd leave, and that'd be it. I didn't make a speech. I said, what are you doing? I looked at the books. I said, we're paying 90%, maybe even 100%.
Sorry, I missed this. $3 tip from Green Guy says, Hannah, Mexico has cartels. America has white nationalist, evangelical extremist. Every country has their problems. Only issue is America's problem is his America's problem is his voter base. How are immigrants the problem in a country built by immigrants? Because they just don't like brown people.
100% of NATO. So we're defending you militarily, and you're taking advantage of us on trade. How does that work? And I said, you have to pay. They ended up putting up.
The United States is the one that decided to build military bases all over the goddamn world and become the world police. Did he miss all that? He was alive for most of it.
More than $430 billion. $430 billion, because I asked. Now I asked the right way. I remember during a meeting, one of the presidents of one of the European countries stood up, and it was a closed-door meeting. He said, may I ask you
Presidents of one of the European countries.
a question, Mr. President? Yes. If we don't pay, we're not paid up, and we're attacked by Russia, will you defend us? I said, you mean you're delinquent? You haven't paid? That's right. No, I will not defend you. The next day, the money came pouring in. You got
He's so dumb.
the money. I took a lot of heat from the fake news. They said, you shouldn't treat allies like that. I said, no, allies shouldn't treat us like that. They should pay their bills.
You're not a business. You're a governmental entity trying to influence global politics. You're not a landlord.
And it made NATO much stronger because of it. It made NATO rich and strong, and the
Captain Squid says he's from a European country. You wouldn't know him.
head of NATO, the Secretary General, he said, Stoltenberg, he said that Trump is amazing. He did something that nobody else has been able to do. It's incredible. And now, I don't know if he'd say that today, but he certainly said it then, and I think he said it recently, even again. And another thing that was very good is a country, Hungary, very strong leader, Viktor Orban. They asked him, why is the world blowing up? What's wrong? This is a few weeks ago. Why is it so bad? What do you recommend? Now, he's a strong man. He's a strong guy. He's a tough leader.
The dictator?
He runs a country very well. He allowed no illegal immigrants in his country. He went against other European countries, which have frankly half destroyed themselves. And I said, they asked him the question, what would you recommend? He said, I would recommend one thing. get Donald Trump elected president again, and you're going to have no problems anywhere in the world. Get him elected president. That's true. Thank you. Thank you. It's true. I don't want to be the one to say it, but if I don't say it, nobody else will. That I can tell you. And he used a word I wouldn't use, but he used it. He said, China was afraid of him. I don't like to use the word afraid. Let's say they respected me. But he said, China was afraid of him. Russia was afraid of him. Look what I did to Russia. Nord
Emboldened them? What do you mean?
Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. Nobody in this
There's
audience.
like 10 more minutes left in this.
I'm the only one that knew what it was. It's the biggest pipeline in the world going to serve Europe. And I said, so we're defending them against Russia, and yet they're paying Russia billions of dollars a month for oil. How does that make sense? I ended it. I closed Nord Stream 2. Then they say that I was friendly to Russia. I wasn't friendly to Russia. I got along with Putin. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. But I closed Nord Stream 2, and Putin said to me, if you're friendly to me, I'd hate like hell to see if you weren't friendly. This is not good. He was not happy. But I closed up the pipeline before it got finished, before it got built. When Biden came in, one of the first things he did is approve Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline in the world. And then they say, oh, Trump was very soft. They're full of misinformation and disinformation. That's all they're good at. That and cheating on elections. That's all they're good at. Biden's weakness has led the planet to the edge of nuclear war.
What?
I will bring the world glory.
Why didn't you just let Russia completely take over Ukraine so then they could move on to the next former Soviet bloc nation that they can try and take?
New peace, and I will make the following statement. I am the only one that can say this, I believe. I know them all, and they respect me.
Oh, boy.
They don't respect our country anymore. It's a country that's in decline, but they respect me, and we're going to have it back very soon. We're going to have a great country very soon. But I'll say this. I will prevent World War III. I'm the only one that's going to do it.
Everyone who falls for this should have a mandatory CAT scan.
Biden. You know, if I were president, if the election were an election that it should have been, you would have never had Russia attacking Ukraine. Even Democrats.
What? H. Bird says $5 says he and RFK Jr. shared a pork platter at some point.
Democrats admit this. Would have never happened. Never.
Who says that? He just lies. It's so annoying.
It did happen for 4 years. Not even a discussion. Russia wouldn't be attacking Ukraine. And on October 7th, Israel would have never been attacked by Iran. Iran was broke. When I was president,
What?
Iran was broke. I told China, if you buy 1 barrel of oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business in the United States. I said that to many countries, and they did very little oil. Check it out. They did almost no business in selling oil, which is their...
Iran did end up attacking, sending some missiles to Israel as a retaliatory act for all the other stuff going on.
lifeblood. And we would have had a deal within 1 week after the presidential election. We would have had a deal. And you know what the deal would have been? It would have been fine for them. But it would have had one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And now they're 60 days from having a nuclear weapon because these people have done nothing. I gave it to them on a silver platter. They were broke.
Oh, did he say October 7th? I missed the date.
No money. And I
Sorry.
heard this from a Democrat congressman on Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, deface the nation.
Yeah, he meant Hamas.
And he said, I will admit
I guess he didn't mean Hamas, because he did continue to go on about Iran.
that under Trump, Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for terror. and now they have $230 billion. They made it in 3.5 years, but we'll get something done. But it's a very precarious position. But I will prevent World War III, and we will have peace through strength. That's what we're going to have.
Ew.
In my next term, we will build a great Iron Dome, very much like Israel has, but even better. I'm saying, why don't we have that? We should have that too. We have a lot of hostile people out there. We have a lot of bad actors out there. We're going to build the greatest dome of them all. We're going to have it all made right here in America. Some of
The greatest dome, the bigliest. Oh, God.
it's going to be made right here in Michigan. State-of-the-art missile defense.
Yeah, does he understand that the reason that that's a thing in Israel is because it's regularly attacked with rockets and, like, other missile-based weaponry? The United States is not, so the expense of building and maintaining something like that would be a bunch of money for no reason?
Shield that will be entire.
And yes, we do have actual missile defense systems that are more fit for our country's size and global situation.
Built.
Captain Squid with a link says Trump. Oh. Hold on, let me copy this link. That was incorrect. Weird that that didn't work. Try this again. Megatron, peace through tyranny.
In America, and we'll create jobs, and we're going to have the greatest dome of them all. We're going to have greater. You saw
The greatest dome in history. Everyone is saying Donald builds the best domes.
how effective that was with Israel last week, with 300 rockets shot, every one of them knocked out, every one of them knocked down. Probably if they didn't have it, they wouldn't even have Israel right now, if you think about it, right? All those would have hit various locations. Virtually none of them got through. Amazing. We're going to have a more sophisticated version. We have the technology. We have the genius. We're going to have we're going to build a great Iron Dome. We're going to have a shield around our country, and it's made here, and it's going to be a great day.
Rambling.
We're also going to rebuild our cities, and we're going to make them beacons of hope and safety and beauty, better than they have ever been before. Right now, they're crime-ridden, they're falling apart, they're run by Democrats. I'll work with the Democrats. We're going to rebuild our cities. You see what's happening with your cities. You see Detroit. For 35 years, I've heard about this great comeback in Detroit, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting. It's taken a long time.
Detroit is doing a lot better than it was 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago.
But we're going to make our cities great again. We're going to take over the horribly run capital of our nation in Washington, D.C., clean it up, renovate it, rebuild our capital city so that it will become the most beautiful capital in the world again. And we're going to get rid of the horrible, violent crime that's taking place there. You go there from Michigan and you end up getting stabbed or shot, and people aren't even going. It's horrible. Graffiti all over the place. We're going to take it back. We're going to make it beautiful. We're going to renovate it and build it, and we're going to make it much more beautiful than it ever was. It'll be the most beautiful capital city anywhere in the world, and we have an...
Does he think Detroit is the capital of Michigan? No, he was talking about D.C., right?
an obligation to do it. On
He
day
switched
one,
over. Sorry, I forgot he switched over to DC.
I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory,
Is he still on this?
transgender insanity, and other inappropriate...
God damn. This has gotten the biggest cheer out of anything. They don't even give a shit about the border compared to their racist and transphobic shit, apparently. Fuck.
racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
Fucking hell. Please vote for Joe Biden. Vote for Joe Biden. Billy Bob, thanks for a new membership on YouTube. I appreciate it.
I will keep men out of women's sports day one. Day one. Signed up day one.
How ridiculous is that? How crazy? That's
You're gonna make laws about, or try and make official orders about private sports organizations and who they can admit?
like open
Weird.
border. I mean, there are things that are so crazy. Like, who the hell wants an open border where countries from all over the world are infiltrating and violating our country? It's the same with men playing in women's sports. I mean, take a look at what's happening. Take a look. It's so disrespectful to women. But take a look at
And
what
Trump knows a thing or two about disrespecting women. Christopher Bay with a $10 super chat says, I actually have a lot of respect for Donald Trump. After all, he doesn't just talk about making idle threats, he makes idle threats. It's pretty good.
happening to records that have stood for 18 years of being shattered by numbers that nobody's ever even thought of before. I will fully uphold the always under siege Second Amendment, guns. I will always uphold.
Remember when Trump said, take the guns and ask questions later?
We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, and we need free speech in this country. And I will do something that nobody else has a passion for like I do. I will secure our elections and make them real, beautiful, safe elections.
Bear in mind, they're only real when he and his allies win.
And our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID. Very simple. Voter ID. But until then, Republicans must win. We have to win. We have to win. That's why I say, use your heart. Go back to the abortion question. We have to win. But we have to go out.
Do you think that the abortion situation is seriously a winning rhetorical tool for him at the moment? Oh boy, he's doing bad.
Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very bad period for this country. We have to win those elections. We want, in the case of our election, our presidential election, we want a landslide that's too big to rig. Too big to rig. We got to make it so big. Because one thing we know, at a certain level, they can't cheat. They
He
can.
needs that block of single-issue voters, but the thing is, that's, like, broadly not popular, and there's already a bunch of people voting specifically for the opposite reason, is because they're upset about Roe v. Wade getting overturned. So I don't think that that's going to help him. I think that's going to be a net negative for him, which is good, but still, I don't know, it's weird.
cheat, but it won't matter. So we think we're going to have them stopped, but that's what they do best. We want to make our win too big to rig. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration has done. And I used to say, and you know that because a year ago, if you heard me at a rally, and the rallies are bigger and better and stronger than ever before, the whole thing is ready for a big victory on November 5th. But if you heard me, I used to say if you took the 5 worst presidents, now I said that's not enough. Now I say 10 worst. I have a feeling by the next time we meet, it'll be the 15 and maybe the 20 worst. He's so bad. He's the worst president ever. It's pathetic. And you know what? As a country, we're laughed at all over the world.
You literally got laughed at on TV in front of the UN.
All over the world, we're laughed at. He flies to Saudi Arabia to meet the king. He's in the plane for 24 hours. He stumbles out of the plane. He meets the king finally. And instead of shaking his hand, he gives him a fist pump. In other words, don't touch me. I don't want to touch your hand. This is what we got negotiating for us. He can't negotiate. He can't do anything right. And everything he touches turns out bad. And we just don't want it. We want to make our country great
Remember
again.
when Trump did that weird orb thing in Saudi Arabia? The fuck was that? They all touched that orb? That was weird.
We're tired of watching this clown show. So if you want to save America, get every common sense person you know, you go register and vote Republican.
Funny how the people who claim themselves to be full of common sense are the people most lacking it.
You got to
It's a shame.
vote for us. You got to vote for Mike and everybody else on the ticket.
But we're going to turn it around fast, Mike, right? We're going to turn it around fast, and he's going to be a great help. I'm so happy that he's running, frankly. I'm so happy. So in conclusion, together, we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. We've never seen anything like it. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be,
communists. There are 0 people in government in a national level, virtually, I'm sure there's 1 or 2, who are communists. There is no one in the Senate or the House that is a fucking communist. It's just frustrating. The Red Scare stuff is like lead. It leached its way into the brains of boomers, and it just won't go. It's just caused permanent mental damage.
you must never forget, this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. It belongs to you.
Yeah, I remember that song. This land is my land. This land's not your land. Get the fuck out, or I'm gonna hurt you.
This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. This is your God-given right. From Marquette to Midland, from Frankfort to Flint, and from Detroit to Saginaw, we stand on the shoulders of red-blooded Michigan patriots who laid out the railroads, worked the factories, tilled the fields, forged the seals, fought the battles, and won the victories that made America into the greatest and most powerful nation.
He was reading that part with all the proper names of the cities. You could tell he was looking at the teleprompter, which is fine, but it's funny that he shit-talks the teleprompters and then uses them to seem like he knows about the local Michigan locations.
Anywhere in the world, we love our nation.
Yeah, this is in Freeland, Michigan.
But
a week ago
now,
or so.
we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and it's lost its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror, it's an absolute horror, to continue any longer. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hard-working patriots like you, the people of Michigan, who built this country, and it's hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country. Our country must be saved. Our country is in big, very dangerous trouble. Our country has never been in a position like this. We're laughed at all over the world. We're not respected by anybody. Our economy is going to hell. Inflation is eating everybody alive. Everything is wrong with our country. There's nothing that's going right. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle.
Someone give Starry Night a sub.
With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists.
One of these things is not like the other.
We'll throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout out the fake news media. We will drain the swamp.
Thank you, Lennon Cat, for gifting that sub.
And we will liberate our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all. We will liberate our country.
Captain Squid with 100 bits says globalists, and then the, you know, the echo bullshit.
Like those patriots before us, we will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, we will never give in, we will never give up, we will never, ever, ever back down, we will never back down. With your support, we will go on to victory, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House, and we will take back our country on no...
Dinosaur, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs. I appreciate it. This has been an awful stream, and listening to Trump is like nails on a chalkboard. So I appreciate the support to help get through it.
November 5th, 2024.
I think we're on a hype train.
The great silent majority is rising like
The
never.
great silent majority. Not a real thing. I wish you'd be silent. 35% to level 3 on a hype train. Can we get to level 5? One hopes. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub.
Before, and under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer, and it wasn't forgotten. Man and woman 4 years ago was not forgotten. They were somebody. They were proud. They loved our country. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again.
He's getting there. He's edging them. Puka, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for the gift subs. We're slightly behind on gift subs for the month, so if anyone's thinking about supporting the stream, gift subs are a great way to do so. Helps people not get ads, helps the stream continue. So thank you very much for the gift subs, people.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Michigan. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless you.
Jesus Christ. Halted Undying, thank you for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and getting us over level 3 of the hype train. Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for gifting a sub. Again, I appreciate all of the gift subs. Thank you so much. That was difficult to get through. Unironically, what a pain in the ass. Oh god, and then he does the stupid dance. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs. Alright, let's look at that fart cleanse, I guess. What we do? I had that somewhere, I think. There it is. From Apollo 16 and someone farted. I don't know. Then we'll watch something silly. 92% to level 4 on the hype train.
Okay, and I sure think it's paying off. You guys did an outstanding job.
Unstable Deadbeat, thanks for 200 bits.
Once again, I've got them again, Charlie. I haven't eaten this much citrus fruit in 20 years. And I'll tell you one thing, in another 12 fucking days, I ain't never eating any more. I put them up over the, right up in there. They ain't there? Oh, shit. Orion, Houston? Yes, sir. Okay, John, you where you have my hot mic? How long we had that?
97% to level 4. Oh god, why is Chili...
court case going on.
Now I can.
You even have to come on the show.
The Chili people. Cosmology Dragon, thanks for 5 tier 1 subs. All these gift subs. Very, very wonderful. Thank you. It helps me out a lot. And keeps the channel going and helps people watch the stream without ads. All very nice. Alright, let's see. What was the other stuff I wanted to take a look at? I had it under my Chrome browser. I had some other Chud stuff. That's the Donald Trump stuff, but I do have a few other things I wanted to take a look at today. Let's take a look at this one. AltFact, thanks for 25 months. Before we get into Elliot's video, we haven't looked at Elliot for a while, so this will be fun. But before we do that, I'm going to use the bathroom one more time. Keep the hype train going. Be right back. I have returned. Mr. Blast, thanks for 300 bits. Did I see Target's not going to sell any Pride stuff this year in most of their stores? That's ridiculous. Austie, thanks for 21 months. Captain Squid with 200 bits says hype. And Freyline says, for a cleanse if you would like. Let's take a look. It's a minute. We can do that. 72% to level 5. We are incredibly close. Overthought, thanks for gifting a sub.
On the horizon of this forest path, you see a group of dark, cloaked figures slowly trudging towards you. What do? My half-orc barbarian braces her great hammer, and that's a 1. Critical fail. Steve, what do? Well, I believe in anticipation, my rogue would try and hide behind a tree. Okay, I rolled a 1. That's another critical fail. Tom, what does your human bard do? Active perception check. It's a natural 20. Let's fucking go.
I feel it in my fingers, I feel it in my toes. These motherfuckers mean to harm us, and they got to go, so come on, get them now. You picked the wrong day to fuck around with my tight crew. So skip it. I can perceive you, here's what we're gonna do. Me and my boys.
Bittergrin, thanks for gifting a sub. 90% to level 5. We're so close.
Gonna mess you up.
I rolled a 1. I rolled a 1.
Fuck, my boys are otherwise engaged, so I'm gonna bring it on myself.
Hey, I forgot. You're supposed to tell me what I see, right? Yes, thank you. Let's just slow it all down a bit. So you notice that one of the hooded figures is a little shorter. I cast Vicious Mockery. Nat 20, let's go.
You're a short motherfucker and nobody likes you. Short! Everybody says, how fucking short that guy is. And that stops you from forming meaningful relationships. When you were born, everybody thought that you were just a head. But then the doctor said, wait, this stupid motherfucker tiny short ass baby got a tiny little itty bitty body and I hate it.
Your attack lands and absolutely shatters the mind of the cloaked figure. Perception check, please. Nat 20, let's go. You perceive the figure was so short because it was a child. There's always a kid. Specific.
Procagom, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs, and Unstable Deadbeat for gifting a sub. Both of you bringing us over level 5 of the hype train. Incredible amount of gift subs this train. Thank you everyone so much for helping out.
Specifically the child you've been looking for the last 15 days game time and 5 days of our actual lives. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'll be better. Fuck, his body's just lying there, right? Right? Yes. Don't.
Loot that body now. Loot that body. Loot that motherfucker. Play my flute when I loot that dead kid's body.
Bitch!
That was good. Okay, let's see what Elliot else has been up to. Jesus.
Need guys like me. You need guys like me. So you can point and say, look, that's the bad guy. Tony Montana, Scarface.
To anyone who needs to hear this, Tony Montana, Mr. Chips, is not an aspirational character.
He was a bad guy. But today I'm making this video because there are a lot of guys out there that believe the lie that it's better to be a nice guy. And so today is my anti-nice guy, pro-bad guy video. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why based on characters in movies and Marvel and comic books and shit like that. There are 3 aspects of bad guys that make them better guys than the good guys. And the good guys are simps in comparison because, number 1, bad guys always have a mission, if you notice. Good guys are always reactionary. What do I mean?
What? What are you talking about? A constant crusade for self-enrichment or some sort of gluttonous disregard for other people, like a bad person might have, isn't good. What your goal is more important than if you have a goal.
I mean, if you pay attention, bad guys are always plotting. They're always scheming. They're always up to something big, something grandiose. They're ascending men. They're climbing men. They're
hey, megalomaniacal behaviors aren't positive. Fun fact.
Trying to steal the moon. All of this forward positive momentum in the direction of their dreams makes them mission-focused visionaries. Always the bad guy is up to something big. The good guy, waiting to see.
He's talking about fiction. Does he think that the rules of fiction apply to the real world? Like typically in like the hero's journey, in like a typical like 3-act structure of some sort of story, you will have some sort of character, and then something is thrust upon them, a challenge, a devastating event, something that changes it and sends them out on their quest, right? Sends them out on their mission. You know, your rising action, your call to action, so to speak. Right on. But that's a story structure. That's not like a rule of real life. That's not how real life works. That's how stories function. Specific stories at that. Not every story, just like a very common structure for stories follows that.
Bad guy does.
Minute left.
Think about it in social circles too. The guy that speaks up, being a little bit more charismatic, talking to the girls and taking the risks. He's pro-movement, pro-mission. The nice guy, he's waiting for somebody to come talk to him. He's waiting for her to come look at him. He's waiting for his moment to get his word in while the bad guy is garnering all the attention. Be a fucking bad guy. Number 2, the bad guy welcomes the hate. Like, he knows he's going to be hate. He knows that if he approaches life reaching for the stars, stealing the moon, doing what he wants to do.
He's literally referencing Despicable Me, by the way, for those who don't get the reference. He's referencing Gru's quest to steal the moon.
That there are going to be people that just don't
I understand he's using it metaphorically, but it's a really stupid metaphor.
like you, don't like him. When you're marching by the beat of your own drum, when you're going after your goals and goods, when you're doing what it is that your soul calls you to do, regardless of whether or not other people think it's cool, you're a fucking bad guy.
Thank you for that hype train, everyone. That was an incredible hype train. I appreciate it a lot.
Good guys, they keep their lips shut. They stifle themselves down.
Again, it seems like he's just taking negative qualities and saying good guys do this, and taking positive qualities, vaguely, if you strip away a lot of the stuff he's saying, as good. Like, this doesn't feel like it's based on actual observation, even of fictional stories, as much as he's trying to fit what he wants to say to a metaphor.
They are more interested in being liked, the approval of others, and being nice than actually being real.
Being mean isn't more real than being nice. You just don't want to have the responsibility of, like, not being a dick.
Wearing a mask.
I hate that. I hate when, like, assholes try and frame their assholishness as being real and being nice as being fake. No, you're just an asshole. I'm sorry that for you, being nice would be an act, but I'd prefer you to be a fake nice person than a real asshole. Genuinely, and everyone else feels the same. So either fuck off or at least pretend to be nice. Yep. Profane Priestess says, my D&D party literally murdered a vampire prince a couple months ago and got attacked by said prince's vampire father because we were about to destroy the cult he leads and imprison their god, but sure, very passive.
Masks makes people like the mask. It doesn't make them like you. Making YouTube videos because you think your fans will like them, or not saying things that you think they won't like, means you're a fucking faker.
Sure, I guess, but like, if the things you want to say are shitty, you're a shitty person. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, you're not going to get points or applauded for being a piece of shit, as much as you might want that. It's just not how most people feel.
Bad guy, say shit they might not like. You'll be much more free. And then number 3, the bad guy, he lives by truth. Based on principle number 2, he's not trying to be something to please you.
Again, this implication that the only reason anyone would do anything good or be a good person is for deception, or it's a lie.
He's not trying to be anything other than...
Reminds me of when Ricky Gervais did that movie, The Invention of Lying, and his interpretation of a lie is that any amount of real love or affection people have for each other is a lie. Like, it's just like how a psycho sees emotion. It's how a psycho sees kindness. It's weird.
Than what he actually is. Scars and all. All messed up face. Looking like a crazy man. He doesn't put on makeup. He doesn't doll
Doctor Doom.
himself
The
up.
Phantom of the Opera.
He doesn't don a cape. He
Plenty of villains wear capes.
rocks a black coat. Because that's what makes him feel comfortable.
Tons of villains wear absurd, like, outfits. What are you talking about?
Because that's who he is, because that is the truth for a bad guy.
You want to go to real-life bad guys? Look at the Nazis. They literally had, like, Hugo Boss put together little fucking uniforms and shit to make them look like supervillains.
Might not be for you. Good guy,
Riddler,
always living by lies. Putting on a smile. Fake face, fake words, fake character, fake man. Fake man gets no play. Girls don't pay attention to fake nice guy. They don't get the attention that they want to garner on the screen, in marketing, in sales, in business. Nice guys lose. Bad guys win.
I drink your milkshake! I drink it up! It's the vibe. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? He's trying to valorize being an asshole. That's pathetic. That's just pathetic. So anyway, is there anything else I wanted to look at before we call it a night? Let's see. Oh no, what's Saberspark doing? The future of my channel. Oh no. Is Saberspark going away? Don't leave me. Literally fascist rhetoric, all about aesthetic and not substance, you know. What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. Villain roles are fun. I think playing a villain would be very fun. Not in real life, but in a play or something, you know. When we did Othello in my AP English class, we did it like a play. We read it in different parts. And I got to play Iago, and that was nice. Iago has some good asides, some really nice villain monologues. P-Meal, thanks for a $15 tip, says, I hope costume month is going well. Your Velma outfit was awesome. It's going pretty good. I couldn't find my witch outfit yesterday, so I had to throw one together, but I think I might know where it is now, so we're good. Also, someone sent me this, so I have a nice, deductive reasoning look. Okay, yeah. So we're good! I like props. Anyway. Do I have a closet full of costumes like the Dean? It's a trunk. It's a trunk of costumes. It's right there. It's green. Detective... you know, if I was wearing the dino... This isn't my dino costume. This is the anglerfish costume. I'm angling for a mystery. But if I wore the Triceratops one, I could be Detective Dino. That's a character. Improv's easy. You just gotta say 2 words together and then it's a character, right? Elementary, my dear chat. It seems that Donald Trump has committed numerous crimes, but is trying to use his political career to cover up and try and say everything is lawfare. God, I wish I had bubbles in this. Alright. I think that's it. So thanks everyone for hanging out. That was a really fun stream. Tomorrow we will be doing probably something fun. We'll probably be doing VHS Vault, maybe a special long one. Baja's gonna be out with a friend, so I will be bored. So we'll probably hang out and maybe do a long VHS Vault. So make sure you join the Discord if you would like. I have such an oral fixation. I keep fucking around with this and it must make it hard to hear. I'm sorry. I'll stop putting it in my mouth. Yes, you're going to a bachelorette party. I hope it's super fun. Oh yeah, who are we gonna raid? So we'll do a VHS vault. Alright. Have a good night, everyone. See you later. Now I'm just fish police. AFAB. That's already taken.